Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not
To a grand
relevant.
jury.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict's live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Oh, getting commentary on the case. Dahil mihi Anglican po, service watching.
Is that correct?
I didn't ask you to interrupt me. Oh, for Trump's sake.
Good morning. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. It's good to have you here this happy Friday afternoon. Big shout out also to Kim R16, who was first in chat today. Kim, congratulations. You've won once again.
Hello.
Everything IP related worldwide is your responsibility. So wonderful, wonderful. Off our shoulders and onto yours. Can't think of a better person, Kim. I really can't. You're going to do great today. Lil Mary Gazzola, Flow State. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. And Kim, thank you. And a finger heart as well. Limery's Galoza. That's a tough one. Help me out. Spell it in crayon. All right. Did I say afternoon? It's almost afternoon. Good morning. It's still morning most places where we're listening. A few places over on the other side of the pond, though. It's after. We have to do birthdays right away. I'm sorry about that. We have to do birthdays right away if there are any. I'm not sure if we have any birthdays today, so or any mods, quite honestly. Let's see. It might be very, very quiet today. Did you sleep in the afternoon? No. We're going to be going to court in just a minute. So let's keep an eye on everyone just walking around right now. So nothing major happening yet. We're going to be going to court in just a bit. But also today on Top Mark Media, because the Alaska trial is done, we do have another hearing for Tyler Robinson, which starts soonish. Let me go back to that. Please, did that? Yeah, it's ready. Okay. Why is it private? Did I make it private? That's never going to be good. Customized. Details. Not private. We're going to do public. There we go. And done. Save. Okay, we're almost ready over there. Let me just get the WebEx pulled up. Let's watch this while we wait. Hang on. Well, it's going to be a PARTY today. We've got mods that are out and about. And so I don't have any birthdays. What's the hearing for Tyler Robinson about today? It's about, it's a ruling hearing, so it's going to be short. Well, as short as the judge can be as he reads his rulings. But just have to get approved. I'm approved for the court. There we go. Let me go back and access it now. Come on. Strange things are happening over there. So refresh this one. We're already registered on this one. Wait for it. Wait for it. All right. Lois Cox, welcome. Good to have you here. Lois, if you have to bail at any time, it's okay. Do we have any birthdays before we start court here? Any birthdays? Sorry, let me... It's up to the second. And this one is up to the second. Let's go with 7. All right, let's see. It's mine. I filled out the form a few months ago. It says Fetsnaz. Fetsnaz's birthday today. All right, we'll put you on the list. Anyone else? Anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. We have Fetsnaz, at least, who saved us from having a no birthday. Fetsnaz and Jinjin Pookie. Okay, so I need to copy this.
Happy birthday. You look good.
Fetsnaz. Jinjin Pookie. Yeah. We'll sing to you today as well. Anyone else? Mia and Rihanna. Okay, thank you, Lois, for that. There we go. All right, we're going to sing to these 4 people today. Oh, wait. Let me put them on the screen. Dennis's friend Thomas as well. So, all right, we're going to add Thomas as well because that's good. All right, everyone, wherever you are, stand up, take a breath, shoulders back, project your voice to the back of the room, blend your voice with your neighbor, and warm up with me if you will. La 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 la. All right, we've got a few people to sing to. Is it Maya? It's Maya. Sorry. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fetsnaz, Jinjin Pookie, Mia, Rihanna, and Nancy B. Happy birthday to you. I knew it was Nancy B. We got you there at the last end, Nancy. Who? Mia? Not sure who it is. Is there somebody else? Oh, we've got to sing to Thomas. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Thomas. Happy birthday to you. There you go. To everyone who's celebrating their birthday today, happy birthday. I realize there are a million places you could be and a million people you could have celebrated with, but you chose to be here with us. The privilege, pleasure, the honor, the joy, that is ours. Hopefully we can turn that joy back to you, make your day a little more special. Or begin by helping yourself to free pancakes at Denny's, IHOP Religion, Waffle House, McDonald's, Tammy Dunlap's House, Andy's Grill, Bob Evans, and Cracker Barrel. Whew. Great pitch on those low notes. It helps because I had cheese for breakfast. Not Wisconsin cheese. I had Irish cheese. It's a secret. It helps loosen up the vocal cords. I don't know what it does, but it's working. So, all right. Good morning. Dancers doing their thing. Court is about to start. I'm trying to get this WebEx for... Yeah. Let me check and see if KSL has a feed. have to call KSL really quickly. Drum solo. Awesome. Was it the cheese with flavor crystals? No, I had 2-year aged cheddar though. 2-year aged cheddar, which was good. It was very good. But not the one I'm looking for. We're still on the hunt for that. All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
Happy birthday. You look good.
Let's see.
Because he's the guy.
I've got to call KSL really quickly.
Take it order.
Assignment desk. Breaking news. Support.
Bar sucks anyways.
Bar does suck.
There's nothing in the order that restrains you from talking to cats.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to get the Tyler Robinson WebEx pulled up, and it just isn't working right.
You wear multiple hats, sir.
You are banished from the state of Georgia.
Oh, it's going to send me an email. Nice.
Squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Now you tell me. So,
Have them send someone with more experience. Happy birthday. You look good.
registration approved.
I don't like podiums, Your Honor.
Holy smokes, that's a long one.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
I need to copy like a huge long email address from a Mac to a PC.
You don't put a diplomatic plate on a hoopty.
I got a stubby little pencil.
I saw a chicken fight.
Utah courts.
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
Okay, hang on. You got to be quiet for just a second, guys.
I'm trying to have court. Don't raise your voice again.
Mike Delta 137, Echo Echo 832, Charlie 886, Charlie 387 09, Charlie 0 Charlie 8 Foxtrot 1 Foxtrot 6 Delta 2 Charlie 6 Alpha. Okay, got it. You're kidding me. Cannot join. The meeting has not yet started. Join the meeting on WebEx.
Bring the jury.
Started, and then it just closes me out. Are you serious? This is fun. This is fun. It's only 8 a.m. Oh, yeah, there's that. I should probably read chat. I keep thinking that WebEx will convert the time to my local location, and it doesn't. So that was an error on my part. So it's actually going to be ready at, we're going to go live at 12:30, not 10:30, right? No, it's supposed to be 8:30. $10 Eastern time. I'm right. It's okay. This is a pain in the hindquarters a little bit. The hoops we have to jump through to make this work. It's a little bit crazy. Yeah, it hasn't started. The thing is, he starts it right when it goes live. We don't get any buffer whatsoever. And so I have to do the whole login, sign in rigmarole right as the court's starting, and I miss part of it. So anyway, we're gonna carry that on Top Mark Media. I'm just gonna keep working on that end. We've got our streaming encoder all set to go live. Everything's configured. I've saved the number into memory. Now it's asking me for a meeting password. Yeah, go figure. Luckily, they sent me one of those. Need the password, and then also I'm not a bot code. And this still hasn't started. This is nuts. Why are you putting me through all these hoops? I'm thinking a bad word right now, guys. Don't try to guess what it is. I'm not going to tell you, but Let me see if I can do this. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can trick it just a little bit. I want to get in early so I can get proof of audio. Make sure the sound is working for everybody. I've got a scam call right now. Hang on. That's one thing I can do while we wait. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you're a computer.
Hey,
Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. I think if I just sit here and do nothing, it'll work. We'll try that. All right, the judge is here, so court's starting.
Yes, Your Honor. In light of Dr. Carney's testimony this morning, I'm assuming that the state is going to call Dr. Carney as we broke yesterday. That was the assertion. We'd like to address the vial of blood that Dr. Carney relied on in coming to her findings as a result for the cause of death for Ms. Bennett. There is an issue with the chain of custody for that vial of blood in regards to the identity and integrity of that vial of blood, meaning that there is no witness thus far that has come to testify that the vial of blood labeled MEC 23-0842 for J. Benning is in fact the blood of Ms. J. Benning, because Dr. Carney was not the one who drew that blood and placed it in that vial of blood that she has relied on in determining the cause of death. So we wanted to address that with the court before the witness got on the scene.
And the state says?
Your Honor, Dr. Carney contacted BUMC and specifically submitted a request from the medical examiner's office to retain that particular blood sample, and she was specific that it be that blood sample. I mean, a nurse at Vanderbilt drew it, but we don't.
How about who delivered it?
It was sent to NMS, and it currently is at the Davidson County Medical Examiner's office. Dr. Carney.
So you're going to use Dr. Carney to give the court reasonable assurance that that's what it is?
Yes, as well as Dr. Olashuga, who testified in the medical records, which are introduced.
Trying to boost her audio.
What do the medical records, I have nothing to do with them all, do they indicate something about the chain of custody?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Olashuga testified that.
Right, I heard him.
If I may, Your Honor.
Do the medical records add anything else?
It does have a lab specimen ID number, Your Honor.
Has a what?
Lab specimen ID number is in the medical records.
I mean, there's something in the medical records that say a report that says ME picked it up, or?
Well, it was sent out to NMS Labs.
I don't know who that is.
That Dr. Minton is
and
the toxicologist for NMS Labs.
Minton?
Minton?
Carrie Minton, is he or she here?
She is here.
Okay, well, why don't you put her on first?
Dr. Carney's, the lab report is something that she reviewed and relied on. I don't see why she would be prohibited from testifying to the autopsy that she performed.
When do you plan on calling Carrie Minton?
Today.
Did she get the blood first?
It was sent to her, and then she sent it to the medical examiner's office.
Okay, well, why don't we, you want to call Dr. Carney and then just mark that for exhibit, but then you're going to have, I just think you need to follow the chain.
I will need a break because I have people scheduled in a certain order for this morning because we had Dr. Carney here yesterday, but I'm happy to do that.
I've got, and I know it's by the preponderance, but I've got a gentleman over here whose attorneys are ranting and raving about the chain of custody, and as we all
ranting and
know,
raving.
I have to be able to assure, reasonable assurance that it is what it is.
Well, Dr. Olashuga,
Are you willing to risk this case on whether you've shown that? Okay.
Again, the state submits that we've met the preponderance of the evidence. It's in the medical
show me
records.
something in the medical records that helps the chain of custody.
It's on page 65 and 66. The blood was collected at 22:31, and we have the exhibit that Dr. Olashuga identified that it was Jade Benning's blood taken at 22:31. The state submits that as met the
And
preponderance.
then where did it go?
It went to NMS Labs.
Okay. So, when I teach evidence, I do little links. Why don't we follow the links? And then there won't be a problem.
Okay, I will step out and
This could unravel the prosecution's case.
Yeah.
This is the test that shows there was a high amount of cocaine in her blood. If this does not come in through proper chain of custody, all they have is what? Ooh, nothing. This would be he walks. This is a big deal. We do have the Tyler Robinson hearing up on Top Mark Media. Oh, look at that fancy little fold-out monitor he's got. It could be, actually, I think that's it, he's the dungeon master. He's the DM. He's the DM for this game. He's set up his maps, his blockades, so nobody can spy on what he's doing. If you know, you know.
Is
Did I have an update?
Carrie Minton here?
Yeah, she is. However, I'm sorry. sorry, Your Honor, if I could correct something, I was mistaken. I thought that Vanderbilt sent it to NMS. I knew that Dr. Carney put a hold on it, but I thought they sent it to them. They did not. They sent it to her. She took that picture of it, and then she sent it to NMS.
Okay, well,
And she has it back.
bring Dr. Carney in and just, we'll hear outside the presence of the jury, just any issues about the chain. And who's introducing the defense motion also included urine. Oh, she just refused.
Our strategic coffer is back.
And General Norman, the defense motion also included urine.
Dr. Carney does not have anything to do with urine samples.
Who would?
It depends on what urine. I think there's 5.
It's a what?
So I think there are 5 samples of urine. I don't know which one they're referring to.
It says the urine collected on 225 and 2259, and then they footnote that there was a corrected lab report changing the date. Are people going to testify about that?
No. I need to know exactly which work order you're referring to, but the one where the date changed.
I haven't seen any changed reports, so I'm just, are you going to try to introduce the urine?
The one where they changed the collection date? No.
Okay. So there's some other urine collected by who?
Yes, Detective Reese collected a urine sample from Vanderbilt Hospital.
So the number 1 on their motion about change is not going to be an issue, right?
Correct.
Okay. Doctor, if you'll step up just a moment about this issue about the blood.
Okay, so this is an evidentiary, hearing. Here, if this evidence is allowed in.
Your Honor, may I ask that Exhibit 12 be passed to the witness? Dr. Carney, do you recognize the item that was just handed to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
This is the admission blood sample for Miss Jade Benning that was sent to my office.
And did you make a specific request for the first hospital blood sample?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the first hospital blood sample that you received from Vanderbilt University Medical Center?
Yes.
And once you received it, what, if anything, did you do with it?
We took a picture of it. I looked to see how much blood was in the vial so I could determine how much volume I had to work with for the subsequent testing. And then we sent it from our office to NMS Labs for toxicology testing.
And did you receive a report from NMS Labs on that toxicology testing?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you incorporate that report into your final autopsy report?
Yes.
And in preparation for trial, did you have your office take additional photos of that same tube of blood that is pictured in Exhibit 12?
Yes, it was. I requested NMS Lab send it back to my office after the testing, and then we took pictures again.
Your Honor, I have 3 photographs. If I can get these to the witness.
Sounds like some pretty good records. Good job taking the photos, ma'am.
And Dr. Carney, once you receive the blood vial back from NMS Labs, is it typical that they would have their own labeling on the blood vial at that point?
Yes.
And do those photographs accurately depict the blood vial as it appears now?
Yes.
And where is that blood vial?
It is actually in the cooler at my office.
And our biological samples,
in the
they
lunchroom.
are stored in a cooler, correct?
Yes.
This is not an item that we could come and put into evidence as an exhibit.
Correct.
And the NMS laboratory stickers, does it reference a specific work order of 23126-889?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that match the lab report that you received back from NMS labs?
Yes, it does.
And Dr. Carney, you have testified as an expert witness in forensic pathology many times. Have you ever had the occasion when a medical examiner was not available to testify in court? Have you ever reviewed a prior autopsy, created your own expert opinion, and then gone and testified even though you didn't do the initial autopsy yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that kind of a standardized practice?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to wait until we have a jury to admit those photographs, but that is the state's presentation of evidence as it relates to the chain of custody of the blood sample of Jade Benning that was collected at 2231 at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
Any questions on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, sir.
They're going to try to poke holes in that chain. This is crucial for them. She's going to fight this one. And you know, she gets spicy.
Good morning, Dr. Carney.
Good morning.
It is good to see you again. I want to ask you a few questions. If you remember, I'm Letitia Quinones Hollins. Want to ask you a few questions in regards to State's Exhibit number 12.
Okay.
Who drew the blood? Who drew that vial of blood in State's Exhibit number 12 on 2/25/23 at 22:31?
I don't know the actual person who drew it, but it was drawn, at the hospital when she came into the emergency department.
And so it was not you who drew that blood?
No.
Okay. Who then took the blood that was drawn purportedly from Miss Benning? What did they do with it at that point?
It would appear they sent it to the chemistry lab because that's where my transport service, they picked it up from the chemistry lab.
Okay. Who took it to the chemistry lab?
I don't know.
And when it got to the chemistry lab, can you tell me what day it got to the chemistry lab?
I presume it got to the chemistry lab very quickly after so that they could run whatever tests the doctor ordered.
But can you tell us the date that it got to the chemistry lab?
I don't have that right here.
And on what date and at what time was it picked up from the chemistry lab to bring to you?
Jury's not in yet. She's asking these questions because she knows she doesn't have the answers. This is not a fishing expedition for the defense. They know there are gaps. Judge will
I'm
make the
sure
final
if I
decision.
have that documentation exactly what date and time it arrived at my office. I don't see that here. Yeah, I don't see that here.
Who would have it?
It would probably be, there is a logbook at my office. And it would be in the logbook when it actually arrived. And I don't have a copy of that in my records here.
Can you get someone to find that out?
Sure.
Any other questions?
Yes. And I understand once you get the log, you'll be able to tell us when it arrived at your office. But can you tell us when exactly it was picked up from Vanderbilt?
Well, it should have been the same day. It comes directly from the hospital to our office.
But is there anyone that you can tell us who can actually testify to that?
I'll have to look at the logbook and see if I can find out who transported it.
Who put the labeling Jade Benning with the medical number of MEC 23-0842 on this vial of blood? In other words, who affixed the labeling of this vial of blood?
Objection, Your Honor, to irrelevant.
Okay, do you know?
I'm not sure if that was us or if that was NMS Labs.
Oh, that's a problem.
You're talking about the photo when you got it back?
Right, so this label that's separate from the tube, that's my office label. The tube, the label that's... Yeah, this one, this is just the hospital label that's on the tube. And then this is my label at the office.
Okay. All right. And then when you got it back?
The hospital label.
So when we got it back, this is, the paper label is from my office. And then this label, I'm not sure if this is all one sticker, and if it is, then that might be the NMS Labs label.
And I guess my question is, when this vial of blood was labeled to belong to Ms. Benning, who did that?
We identified it as Ms. Benning's blood at our office and would have sent it as such. And it gets packaged in a way that it's usually enclosed so that it can't be broken open and...
Yes, ma'am, I understand. But before it got to you, someone had to label that it was in fact Ms. Benning's blood. Correct?
Right. There's a stat name that belongs to her.
Right. Who did that?
So she got her stat name at the hospital.
No, ma'am. Who identified it? Who put the labeling on this vial of blood so that we would know it is in fact Ms. Benning's blood?
I would assume whoever drew it from her, that's their responsibility to identify her and label it.
Oh, that Vanderbilt.
Right.
Okay.
And do you know who that person is?
No.
What method did they use to obtain the blood?
I wasn't there, I don't know.
And how much blood did they actually draw from the beginning, from Ms. Benning?
I don't know how much there was from the beginning. I know how much there was when it came to me, because that's in the report.
This judge seems to be sympathetic to the defense's queries.
And so, just so that we're clear, you don't know who drew the blood?
No.
Don't know what procedures were taken?
We've heard all of that. Do you have any other new questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you go call now and find out
Sure.
what date you received it?
A little bit of a break now as she goes out and makes a frantic phone call to somebody. Find the logbook. Send me a picture of it. Stat. I don't think the defense argument is over. This is not. This was the question and answer period. Now comes the argument before the judge, and after the judge makes his ruling, defense likes to argue then too.
Your Honor, would you like for me to call Dr. Midden while we're waiting for that logbook?
You can do that, just for this purpose.
For efficiency's sake.
Yeah, step out there, Keith. Carrie Minton.
Kathy, how are you doing? Gossip, rumor, innuendo. Phil's here as well. Toy Toys.
Okay.
Saw Kirk Kurt, where you at? Kurt was championing his alma mater earlier in chat. Apparently there's a ranking system and his is at the top. So. Let me just say, Kurt, Weber State, great. There's a reason we have that cheer. So, Rebecca says, I'm here. Always lurking. Gina Adams is here. Twintail Fox confesses to a felony in chat. Welcome, Twintail. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for your friends. They'll appreciate it. Well, you already have. That's why you're chatting. Thank you. Appreciate that. While this is going on, the Tyler Robinson hearing is about to begin. It looks like this on WebEx. Lots of players about to be on the screen. The judge could make his ruling today in the Tyler Robinson case on whether or not they sanction the state for the comments that were made to the media. And will that sanction, if there is one, eliminate the death penalty?
We also have a Smith v. Arizona issue with the same vial of blood.
A what issue?
Smith v. Arizona?
Smith v. Arizona issue.
Okay. Is this the witness, General Norman, that would clear that issue up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
Smith v. Arizona is the Supreme Court case where they ruled that it prevents prosecutors from using a substitute to testify about the out-of-court forensic findings, absent the lab
Good morning,
analyst.
Dr. Midthen. Could you please state your full name
wrong
for the record?
witness.
Carrie Midthen.
And could you spell your first and last name for the court reporter?
Sure. First name is Kari. Last name Midthun.
And Dr. Midthen, where are you employed?
NMS Labs.
And what is your position at NMS Labs?
I'm a forensic toxicologist.
And specifically, did you analyze a blood sample of Ms. Jade Benning that was sent to you by Forensic Medical Management Services out of Nashville, Tennessee, with a date of 2/25/23 at 22:31?
Yes, the laboratory received a blood vial.
And Your Honor, is Exhibit 12 still on the witness stand?
Yes.
And I believe that there are 3 other photographs
Yes.
that don't have numbers quite yet. Dr. Midthen, could you look at all 4 of those photographs and indicate whether or not you recognize them?
Yes.
And what is pictured in those photographs?
So this is multiple sides images of a single blood tube, and based on the labeling on the blood tube, it refers to an NMS laboratory number of 231268889, specifically item number 001.
And I am going to ask that you be handed pages 15 through 27 of the litigation packet the defense requested.
Thank you.
Dr. Midthen, do you recognize the documents that have just been handed to you?
Tyler Robinson just went live on Top Market Media. If you want to go over there.
And are you able to identify when the blood vial was received by your office and who sent it to you?
So based on the information here, we have the outer picture, which is the FedEx package label.
from a package that was captured and received on April 4th, 2023. And then in addition to that, we also have information on here. One second. We have our NMS login verification form, which indicates that a receipt date of April 4th, 2023, also with a receipt from FedEx.
And do you also have additional paperwork from NMS Labs that documents after your NMS completed the testing that it was sent back to forensic medical management?
There is a specimen return form also included in this packet, yes.
And on page 23, is there also a copy of the FedEx shipping label?
Yes, there is, yes.
And that indicates that it was sent from NMS back to Forensic Medical Management Service at 850 RS Gas Boulevard.
Yes.
And the last 2 pages of that portion of the litigation packet, does it indicate the FedEx number, the date and time of the blood vial, a description of the type of blood vial that was received, the testing, as well as the Federal Express information for how it was received and how it was returned?
It doesn't have the return information on the login verification form, but all of the receipt information and our standard inventory of the sample received and all of the labels on the tube are all included on that login verification form, yes.
Okay, and we do have the FedEx label where it was shipped back, is that correct?
Yes, that was page 23 of what you provided me.
Thank you. Your Honor, I asked that those 12 pages of the litigation packet be an exhibit, not for it to go back to the jury. I will also do that for the jury, but I would just like for it to be an exhibit to this portion of the hearing if possible.
Okay, I can look at it. Then if you're going to make it, if she testifies before the jury, then we mark it then.
Okay. Dr. Miffin, can you describe, did you complete the original analysis of the sample related to this blood sample?
The original review and analysis, no, I did not.
Did you subsequently complete your own review and analysis of the samples related to this blood sample?
Yes, I did a complete and full independent analysis and review.
And did you form your own expert opinion?
Yes.
And can you describe what was your expert opinion?
So in reviewing all of the data, all of the information provided for that case, the sample confirmed positive for the presence of cocaine and metabolite. And then there was a separate sample also submitted, which also had some findings.
And did you create a report that documented your expert opinion based on your analysis?
I did, yes.
And can you describe at NMS, how is that done when you do a re-review on a separate review of a sample analysis and have your own expert opinion? What's the process of reporting that?
So a request is made to have the report re-reviewed, oftentimes just because the original analyst isn't available or due to timing. And so the request was made that I personally and independently review the report. I look at all of the data fresh, treat the case as if I have never looked at any part of it before. It's brand new to me. I review all of the paperwork generated for that case from scratch, and then generate the independent report based on my own review of the data and report the findings. In doing so, because it is the second report issued for that case, it is labeled as a corrected report. That is only due to accreditation standards. We need to highlight that this is a different report from the original. And so that is the reasoning behind that corrected label at the top.
And I'm going to ask that this witness be handed a copy of Dr. Carney's autopsy report as well as a copy of her 3/19/26 corrected report.
Thank you.
And Dr. Benton, are you able to say that you reviewed the exact same sample that was originally the sample that was analyzed by Megan Hessler with NMS and the original report sent to Dr. Carney's office?
I do review the report as the final step of my process, just to verify if there are any other differences between our reports, because I would need to note that. But in generating my report, I maintain that separate and independent from my findings until the very end, so that my conclusions are not biased on anything I saw previously there.
So you only reviewed her report for reference to see if you needed to notate any differences in your own expert opinion?
Correct. I look at the data and everything separately and independently.
But can you compare the two reports and the specimens that are the basis of the reports as well as the work order number and state that those are in fact the same sample?
Yes, they are.
And does your report include a specimen received date?
It does.
And what is that date?
On the bottom of page 1, it notes the specimens were received on April 4th, 2023.
And that's the exact date that's in the paperwork that is part of the litigation packet that you just testified to.
Correct.
Thank you, Dr. Mithen.
And one question, and I don't know if Joe Norman needs to follow up or not, but I think you said your results, cocaine, metabolite, but you said something about a second sample?
There were multiple items submitted under that work order or that request. So I've been asked about item number 1 specifically, which was the blood tube.
What's item number 2?
Item number 2 received was a liver tissue specimen.
Are you going to get into that?
I am not going to ask her about that. I will ask Dr. Carney questions about that. But
Okay. So this witness didn't do any analysis of that sample?
no, I don't believe so.
I mean, I reviewed it and created the report, which has the findings.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you review that sample as well?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all part of the same report and work
I thought you said that
order.
you only did the blood, which if you only did with the blood, that's fine. The request was to re-review
The whole
the
case.
entirety, so she did do that.
Are you going to ask this doctor about the liver sample?
I'm going to ask if she analyzed it, yes.
Okay, and so was it the same, you did a new analysis on that as well?
An independent review, yes, of all the data generated for the entire case, all items received for it.
Okay. And what was the individual's name, Megan, that did the initial?
Megan Hessler,
How do you spell that?
first name or last name?
Last.
Hessler.
Hessler. Okay. Any questions on behalf of Mr. Chapin?
Yes, Your Honor. How are you, Dr. McDonald?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good, thank you. My name is Letitia Quinones-Hollins, and I want to ask you a few questions in regards to your analysis of...
What's your question?
I want to just identify the litigation packet. We're specifically speaking on 231-26889, is that correct?
Correct.
And that is NMS's identification of this particular sample that was analyzed.
Correct.
Now, to be clear, how it was obtained from Ms. Benning at Vanderbilt Hospital, you have no knowledge of, is that correct?
Correct.
How it arrived at the medical examiner's office, you have no knowledge of.
Correct.
And how it left the medical examiner's office and then arrived at NMS, you have no knowledge of.
Only that we received it through FedEx courier.
Okay. And you received it on April the 4th?
Correct.
And that's 2023?
Correct.
And you did not perform the original testing, correct?
Correct.
When did you make your analysis of litigation packet 231-26889, the blood there?
So my report was issued on March 19th, 2026.
Okay. So when did you do your analysis?
It would have been, that was when I did my final signature on it. I may have started reviewing some of the data a day or so prior. I don't recall the exact date, but my final report interpretation was signed off on the 19th of March, 2026.
So are you saying that you started your review of this blood and this analysis prior to March 19th?
It's possible. I don't recall if I did it all in one sitting or if I started and then finished the next day.
And can you tell us what is all involved in your review in order to obtain a final outcome, a final conclusion?
So as part of case review, it's reviewing the specific data generated for the case, reviewing anything that was performed for screen testing, any confirmation testing or more definitive testing that's performed after the fact, reviewing any paperwork received in terms of requisition forms, submission forms, reviewing chain of custody, reviewing that login information form, reviewing phone log communications to ensure that we've performed the testing that was requested, ensuring that the testing was completed in full, that a test wasn't missed, and then ensuring the accuracy of the data. So if during my review I identify an area of concern, I can ask that a test be repeated. I can ask for clarification from one of the analysts in the laboratory. I have autonomy there to investigate if I feel there is a concern during that review.
When you did your review of the blood in this case, did you actually have the blood itself to do any review or reruns of tests?
In this individual case, no. The blood had been sent back to FMMS at that time because of the distance in time from when the original sample came in and was tested.
So when you did your review, it had nothing to do specifically with the vial of blood itself?
I would say that's not true. I'm looking at the data that was generated from that specific blood vial. So it does directly relate to that blood vial.
But you yourself didn't run any tests?
I did not.
Okay. And when you reviewed the review, is it Dr. Hessler or?
Ms. Hessler.
Ms. Hessler. Did you find that there were any failed runs?
For that specific case, there were some repeat testing runs that were required just due to concentrations and some of the information that was showing on the initial results. So there were repeat runs required.
Did you review an analysis to determine whether or not those issues for those failed runs were in fact, I guess, corrected?
Yes. Everything was run in terms of standard operating procedures. So if there was a control issue, that issue was evaluated. If the run needed to be repeated for the control issue, it was repeated for the control issue. In at least one instance, it was repeated just due to the quantity involved here. The quantity exceeded our instrument capability for the test at that time, and so it needed to be repeated on a dilution in order to be within our analytical range possible for that test.
Did you analyze directly any issues that you may or may not have with carryover?
Carryover is checked on every run, yes.
Did you review that in this case?
I did.
And did you review the actual raw data, or did you just review the data that was printed on a screen or a document?
So the raw data is automatically uploaded to our secure storage or data storage. So I am reviewing the data that was generated off of the instrument in my review.
So you are reviewing the raw data?
I'm not at the instrument, which would be the raw data coming straight off of the instrument itself, but that is uploaded to a secure storage, which I have access to. So I'm reviewing the data files that the instrument directly generated.
Okay, so you're reviewing then just documents and records?
Yes.
When were you asked to review this document so that you can adopt it as a corrected test?
The request was made in March of 2026.
And how many pages of this run, I guess, is that the proper term? Of the litigation packet that detailed all of the data that is encompassed in this? How many pages was that for you to review?
I have no idea. It's a lot. So on top of just the case, these runs are performed with quality control samples, with calibration samples to help determine a quantitation. So each run can be hundreds of pages long, and this sample had several runs because of the repeat testing. So I'm not exactly sure how large that file was. It was likely hundreds of pages, if not over 1,000 pages.
Would you trust me if I tell you that it was 1,912 pages?
That would not surprise me.
And how long does it take to review all of this data?
Which part of the process?
The whole entire thing, because in order, and correct me if I'm wrong, in order for you to adopt the findings of Ms. Hessler, you have to look at everything, don't you?
Correct.
You have to look at really the raw data too, correct?
Yes.
And you have to look at all the pipettes and all the different things that is utilized in order to assure that the information and the conclusions that you are coming to are in fact true.
That information is documented on the paperwork that I am reviewing. I may not necessarily look at every single pipette unless I see an issue or a discrepancy, then go back and start digging in to determine where that issue occurred. By the time I, as a case reviewer, see each individual piece of data, it has gone through multiple levels of review in the laboratory as well. So there's the analyst who's performing the run. There's an analyst who determines that the run finished and was acceptable, that the quality control samples look correct, they are acceptable. There is an independent technical review of that run after that original analyst signs off. All of that is performed for every single run at minimum. So you have at least 2 or 3 people looking at it at the individual batch level. And then once all testing is complete, then it hits my side or my part and my responsibility. So I'm not only looking at their data generated and looking that they've reviewed independently the results, I'm looking at the full picture and piecing the data from multiple runs across multiple parts of the laboratory to ensure that the results are consistent and that they're fitting together, putting the pieces of that puzzle together, that things are consistent. We're seeing consistent responses between a screen run and a more definitive confirmation run. So I'm doing a higher level overview review after multiple levels of review have already been performed before me.
Okay. And so then you did not participate at all in any of those runs that you just described?
Correct. I'm not directly involved in the handling of the sample or the chain of custody.
And so you then would have to trust that whoever did those runs, whoever completed those testings, whoever performed the quality control, whoever actually performed the pipetting of everything to check the carryover, you have to trust that what those individuals said is in fact true.
I mean, it said and also shown through the data. There are a number of checks and balances that we do throughout all of our testing. There are individual control samples run. They ensure that the instruments are running properly, that the extraction and the test technique is being performed correctly. I am seeing a result that is expected because that's a control result. I know what the result should be, and it did perform that way, and it came off the instrument that way. And then we have the calibrators, which are known quantities of the drug, so that we have a very accurate quantitation and numeric value for those samples. There's something called an internal standard added to every sample. That also ensures that the extraction is performed correctly. So there are multiple levels of checks and balances throughout this entire system. It's part of our accreditation requirements that we are performing this per our standard operating procedures. So if I see that something has gone awry, if I see that there's a concern, I will call it out. But if standard operating procedures are being performed, then all of those steps are being completed accurately. And I do trust what the analysts are doing because my data is showing me that things are operating correctly.
And who puts that data and those types of things that you just listed, who puts that into the system? When you say system, do you mean the computer generated system, or? You have to, I guess, quantify things or qualify things. There's someone who's actually doing that, right?
I mean, so it's part of validating those test methods and ensuring that those test methods are accurate. So there is a very long process to really test and prove that the test you're creating is an accurate and reliable test. Once it's validated, then there are analysts who are authorized and trained to perform that specific test. And they are trained by task in the laboratory. So an analyst who performs a screen test may not be the same analyst who's authorized and able to perform a different definitive test. They're very uniquely trained to each of their tests and their capabilities there. They have to be competency tested. They are very good at what they do.
Correct. And so you have to then, it is because of that that you're able to trust them.
Correct.
Okay. But you do have to trust them, don't you?
I do, but I have a way of checking, too, through the data that things are working properly.
And who were those individuals who actually performed the actual testing that you just described?
It would be on the chain of custody document. I don't memorize that because it's many individuals.
When did the request for you to take over this case come in?
It was March of 2026. I don't recall the exact date.
May I approach? If I had the document and information here that came from your office, would that help refresh your memory and aid you in your testimony?
It's probably documented, yes, in the communication log.
May I provide this to the witness and for the state as well? And I'll mark that for identification purposes only, Defendant's Exhibit 1. Can I draw your attention?
Hang on. Can you answer the question from your review?
It states it was on March 19th.
Can I draw your attention to page 41?
Yes.
Entry March 12th of 2026.
Yes.
Do you see there where someone from your office received an email from Eric Evans providing a subpoena for MMR, which I'm assuming would be Miss Hessler, used to be Miss Ringel, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Requesting that she appear for trial on June 22nd of 26.
Yes.
And will you notice the next entry where there is a request from ADA Jan Norman to have you assigned to the case?
Correct.
And then do you see the next entry where it says updated report signed by you? Is that right?
Yes.
On the March 19th entry there, what time is stated right there?
It says 1500.
On March 19th?
On the communication log?
On the communication, where Ms. General Norman is making the request that you be assigned to the case.
It says 2:02.
At 2:02 p.m., correct?
PM, yes.
What time did you sign this report?
It says 1500, so 3 p.m.
So it is your testimony that all that you just described, and what date is your report signed?
March 19th.
It is your testimony that you reviewed this entire case that included the vial of blood and liver tissue from the baby, from the fetus, as well as a homogeneous container in less than 55 minutes?
Yes.
Is that possible, Dr. Motul?
Yes. From our experience and training, we are trained to do this review, this case review. I review thousands of cases a year. So I am trained to very specifically be able to look through, determine the data, look at the accuracy of the data, review and suss out that the runs were performed properly, that I see no concerns or issues. So it is certainly possible. It was 2 samples. I was aware of these cases and have been aware of these cases for quite some time due to the length of preparation. So I can't recall if I had looked at some of the data previously or not, but it's certainly possible there as well. So I did and was able to go back in and re-review it in approximately an hour.
Well,
and that may be just the date and time stamp of the message from the communication technician that wrote that in the communication log. I don't know when the actual communication request came in. They may have given me a heads up earlier. This is just when she recorded it in the communication log. So to be fair there, it's unclear if that timing is exact to a phone call or email, or just when they logged it into the system that we received this request.
Isn't the purpose of this communication history report based on the accreditation of NMS is to ensure that the integrity and that the chain of custody and everything that is required with all of these testings is in fact logged every time you touch a sample or have anything to do with the sample? Isn't that the purpose of these documents?
Yes.
And so are you testifying that there could have been a situation where NMS was communicating about a particular sample and didn't document it?
No. It's them officially documenting it on this program that goes in the long-term communication log. Our client services department uses a different system called D365. And so they will receive their phone calls and communications, and it's logged in through D365. But then they have to do a separate independent notation to put it into this permanent communication log. So it is logged in other locations. I don't know when they physically received the request from the DA's office. I can only see when they marked it in this communication log. And to be fair, when I'm writing communications, such as when we met earlier this year, I didn't write my notes until after our meeting. So my date and time stamp wouldn't have been completely accurate to the date and time of our meeting because I couldn't write it until after we had finished speaking.
Correct, but the request from General Norman didn't come in until March 19th. So how could it have been done previously?
It may have come in earlier in the day than 2 p.m. is what I'm saying. That timestamp may not be completely accurate to the physical request that she made.
And so then it is your testimony that NMS, when they purport to us that this is all the communications that pertain to this particular file and all the quality control with maintaining those communications may not be completely accurate.
I can't see what's in that D365. I can only see what's on this program. So I don't know if and when a communication was received. I don't believe I saw the email specifically requesting it.
Who would we contact to get that information to see whether or not that there are other communications that will help us make a determination as to the quality and integrity of your review of this blood?
I would
Objection, Your Honor, to relevance.
I don't understand your question.
I want to ensure that your review matches the standards that are required for us to rely on here in court today.
Well, I believe they do. A request was made, it was documented, the request was made, and that information was provided to me. And so relatively quickly, I was able to prioritize this and go in and review that case and try and independently get that review done as quickly as possible due to the urgency of the case. And I was able to get that out the same day, which I think speaks to the quality and efficiency of what we were able to do there.
Okay, then share with us exactly what you did once you got that review and when you got the request.
The request came in at some point on March 19th, 2026. I do not know the exact time. I do not recall. But as part of my review, I then went back through the data. I pulled up that work order in our data storage information system, and I was able...
I apologize. What is the name of that system?
OnBase.
And so there should be documentation of you signing on to do the quality control on OnBase for that day.
Signing in and opening up the case, yes. There would be record of me going in and looking at the case. I have reviewed it many times since then as well.
And what did you do next?
I performed a case level review. So I looked at the independent case data generated, looked at requisition forms, the submission form, looked at the batch review sheets for that run to make sure that the runs were run appropriately. There were no issues noted. As part of accreditation, the analyst would have to note when those issues occur. And I don't recall having any concerns or issues with what I was seeing. I ensured that the draft report that I generate, everything was showing up and looking proper. The results were correct. The numbers were correct. And when I was finished, I move over to our laboratory information system and I say that I have reviewed and okayed the release of this report.
How many samples were in this particular batch?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
And in order for us to trust your ultimate findings, you would have to have to approve each sample that was ran for this particular batch.
So I'm doing a case level review, not a batch level review.
What's the difference?
So a batch level would be looking at all of the cases on that batch or run and looking at the quality controls that were run, the calibration samples that were run, looking at the internal standard in each sample and ensuring that that ran appropriately, or if it didn't run appropriately, what would be the correct action for that sample or QC sample. It may be to re-inject it. It may be to repeat the run, depending on what an issue is. On a case level review, I am looking at the individual case data.
And so you're saying you did not then do the internal standard, the re-injections, the quality control for each sample. You did a case data review.
For this specific sample, not every sample in the batch, just this specific sample, and then I will go back and look at the information important for that batch. So there are summary sheets that are created for the batch, which will summarize an internal standard. It will summarize how the calibrators and QCs performed. I can look at all of that information in one quick spot. I can also see any notes that the analyst who was at the bench made that day. If they noted that there was an issue, that would all be noted. If a supervisor looked at that run and saw an issue or had to approve something, that would be noted on that summary sheet as well. So I'm looking at the independent case data, and then I can look at the full picture of the run from the summaries and the snapshots provided. If something concerns me on that summary page, I can go in and look at the individual QC data pages and all of that. But I don't have to if everything's being run appropriately and I don't see a cause for concern, because I know it's already gone through so many levels of review before it reached me.
But before you can actually rely on the findings of this test, the person who is analyzing this must do exactly what you just detailed, right? They must look at every sample in order to determine that the batch is good, correct?
Yes.
And you looked at the summary, not each individual one.
I can say I did not physically look at every single QC for these samples.
And in order to come to a reliable decision, you do have to make sure that each individual QC is done correctly, correct?
In order to accept the batch, yes, they do look for the acceptability of the quality control samples. Depending on what the issue is, they will note it and perform the proper standard operating procedure response for it.
And you did not do that?
I am not authorized to be performing that at the bench, and that would have been done at the time of analysis. So no, I did not do that.
And that is necessary in order for us to rely on the findings.
The findings are reliable. They've been accepted. They've been peer-reviewed multiple times, technically reviewed multiple times. They met all of our acceptance criteria in order to accept that run. So the findings are accurate and acceptable.
Right, I'm not questioning that. What I'm stating is that that person has to do those individual QCs in order to get the reliable findings.
To review them.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what you yourself did not do.
Every single QC for every single run, no, I did not do every single one. I may have looked at some of them. I don't recall. I have prepped for a number of reports for today, so I do not recall exactly which QCs I looked at for exactly which samples.
And there are other things in regard to this testing that you yourself could not look at and or do because it just wouldn't have been enough time. Would you agree?
Such as?
Well, you had 53 minutes to review all of the data. It's impossible for you to have looked at each and every step along the way in order to come to that conclusion.
Each QC?
Yes.
Correct. That I was doing the case data, looking at the summaries. If I had a question on one, I would go in and look at it. So when you narrow it down to that, I had enough time to look at all of the individual case data for those samples.
Now that was in regard to the blood, correct?
Correct.
The same thing had to be performed for the liver tissue as well, correct?
Correct.
And all of those things in regards to the blood and the liver is required in order for us to rely on the conclusions that are made in this toxicology report.
Correct.
And if I asked you the same line of questionings in regard to the liver, your answers would be the same.
Yes, I do the same type of review, regardless of the specimen or the tube type.
And so, as it relates to the blood and the liver, and NMS work order 231268889, you relied on the summaries for the individuals who performed this testing as opposed to each individual QC for the blood and each individual QC for the liver.
I don't recall if I looked at individual QC files for the case, but as part of my standard review, I look at the case data, I check the batch information, and then I will investigate if I see a concern. I will investigate and start looking at the QCs and some of the standards, the calibrators. So I just don't physically recall, based on the number of runs performed for the case and how many cases I was preparing for, exactly which files I looked at for which case.
Any other questions?
Not for this witness, Your Honor. Actually, Dr. Mithun, did you also review and reanalyze another report related to a blood sample and a urine sample collected by Metro National Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And did you form your own expert opinion and issue a separate report?
Yes, I did.
What happened to Megan Hessler?
Per the phone log notes, she was not available this week.
Dr. Mithun, did you also do the original testing on Jay Finney's comforter?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I don't have any issue before me on that. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, now we can make a decision and bring the jury.
See, Keith, it's got your card down there.
Your Honor, hand your court officer the exhibit sticker to label that exhibit.
I also need what I'm going to bring right back.
Need what back?
I handed her litigation. Or did Your Honor? You said that.
Maybe walks backwards.
Okay, give that back to General Norm. You can leave those there. Like this. Just give those to the clerk. We'll see if there's anything more. What did you find out?
So I found out that the log book that we keep for all specimens that come in is only kept for about a year or two, so it's not there. What I do have is the paper where both Miss Benning's body and her blood arrived at our office. They arrived on March 7th, 2023 at 2:56 a.m.
Your Honor, I also have an...
Hang on just a second. And are you wanting to ask other questions?
I
actually just wanted to put on the record, I didn't know if Your Honor wanted to review it. As part of Exhibit 11, page 1326, there is a death tracking form that's part of the medical record, and it documents that she was transported to the medical examiner's office.
Okay. And you're saying, doctor, the blood came with the body?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions of Dr. Carney?
I have one few.
Pete, all right.
Dr. Carney, how many times was that blood vial taken out of the storage at Vanderbilt? Do you know the answer to that question?
No, ma'am.
Do you know whether or not that vial was ever removed for any reason?
No.
Do you know all the testing that was performed on that vial of blood at Vanderbilt?
No.
Do you know whether or not that vial of blood was stored in a particular refrigerator at Vanderbilt?
I don't know which one.
And do you know if it was stored in a refrigerator at all at Vanderbilt?
I do not.
Will you agree with me that the tubing that is normally required to maintain the integrity of a blood sample was not utilized in this particular case?
I can't agree with that because I don't know what you're referring to.
Meaning, are there different types of, like gray top tube, blue top tube, yellow top tube that are utilized to preserve the enzymes in a particular blood?
You mean to preserve the drugs?
Yes, to preserve the drugs.
Yes, there are different types of tubes. Now, when they drew this particular vial of blood, I don't know that it was for toxicology testing. It was for other types of testing they were performing as they were trying to save her life.
Sure, I understand. And so then the tubing that was utilized in this particular case is just a clear plastic tube.
It's a clear top tube, yes.
And it had no preservatives in it.
Correct.
And those preservatives are necessary in order to preserve and maintain the integrity of the matrix, in this case, which is blood.
What exactly are we trying to preserve?
Why are the tubes with the colors? Let's use a gray top tube. Why do they use that?
So we use a gray top tube because it has sodium fluoride in it, and that will inactivate those esterases in the blood so that cocaine is not broken down after death.
And so that wasn't done?
No.
And those are utilized to maintain the integrity of it, is it not?
Well, I don't know if it's so much integrity. The blood is still in the tube. It's safely in the tube. There's nothing wrong with the integrity of that. It's just that the esterases can continue to break down the drug, the cocaine.
And cocaine is extremely volatile, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's one of the only drugs, it's the only drug I'm aware of that can be broken down after death. But we can also test for the breakdown products so we don't lose that information.
But best practice would have been to place it in a tube with those proper preservatives.
Well, that's what we do at autopsy, yes. But again, at this time, that wasn't the purpose, I think, for this particular tube of blood.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, man. You'll be waiting back there. Does the defense care to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. We would re-raise our objections in regards to the chain of custody in this case.
Here's the argument.
This blood is purported to have been drawn from Miss Bing on 2/25 of 23 at 10:31 p.m. However, there has been no witness to attest that that is in fact accurate. In addition to that, there has been no witness to establish what was done with that vial of blood from 2/25/23 at 10:31 p.m. until the time it reached Vanderbilt on March the 7th at 2:53 Ayden. That would be 10 days that we don't have any idea where it was, how it was stored, who touched it, and for what purpose. That evidence has not been established here today, and as a result of that, the defense would challenge the chain of custody as it relates to that particular bottle of blood. In addition to that, in regards to Dr. Methuen, she has testified that she had to rely on the summaries of those individuals who actually performed the QCs for each sample in that batch run of 231-26889. She stated that in order to trust and rely on the findings that are purported in this toxicology report, that those testings and all the quality controls that performed would have had to be accurate. She has testified that she did not do that for each sample, and therefore, as a result...
Is the first report testimonial?
Yes, Your Honor.
How so?
It's testimonial because in order for Mr. Taylor to be able to trust that this is in fact
How about
accurate...
the lab didn't know anything about Mr. Taylor or whether there would be any charges?
Could you repeat that, please?
What's the lab doing in MNS?
NMS...
What's their primary purpose of testing the blood?
Is
to determine whether there was a crime?
No, they're testing whether or not there was cocaine in the blood.
In order to be a crime?
Well, I don't know that the mere fact cocaine is in the blood makes it a crime.
Right, neither do they. So what is their primary purpose?
Their primary purpose is, in our opinion, is to test the blood to determine whether or not there's cocaine. Because if you look at the toxicology report for 2312...
That had nothing to do with the criminal prosecution.
The whole reason that it was sent there in the first place is because Dr. Carney was contacted.
They're trying to determine what happened to this lady, right?
Correct.
So what does that have to do with potential criminal prosecution?
So if we need to do that, I can ask Dr. Carney to get back on the stand, and she will tell you that she was contacted and spoke with Dr. Reese.
I'm talking about the first test.
This is the first test.
The judge is grilling.
The first test that you're complaining about Megan Hassler running.
Yes. That first test was in regards to this particular case.
Does the state care to be heard?
Your Honor, the standard is very clear. An expert cannot come in and just testify to work that another expert did. Dr. Methuen did her own independent analysis. She formed her own expert opinion. She issued a report based on that opinion. And that is done frequently in our courts. There is nothing unusual about this, and there is nothing prohibited from it.
Well, the case law on their side even talks about a surrogate witness.
That's the Smith v. Arizona.
A surrogate witness. She is her own witness. She did everything herself. The fact that someone else did it once before her has nothing to do with it.
All right, in terms of the chain of custody issue and the blood, we have to go back to Dr. Olashoga, who he was unclear what Exhibit 12 was, which makes sense because it hadn't even been, that photo hadn't even been made when he was involved in the case, but he did say that the blood was taken from who they labeled as the stat patient. And the date, etc. That the blood was taken. The hospital records show that, and the state doesn't have to show every runner that touched it or every person that touched it in the chain, but to give the court reasonable assurance that we're talking about the same vial of blood. The defense attorney cross-examine until the jury goes to sleep about whether or not this landed us here today an accurate result. But in the court's opinion, and the case law sets out the language, identity and tangible, the identity and authenticity of the piece of evidence does not have to be proven beyond all possibility of doubt. All possibility of tampering need not be excluded. Just reasonable assurance that this is the same blood. There's no question it is in the court's mind.
It's coming in.
In terms of the Dr. Mid-Thune and whether she can testify about her findings, she's gone into great detail about hers is a higher level of overview. Extra analysis is performed. And again, she's here as a witness to be cross-examined. It's not a surrogate situation like Smith versus Arizona. It's more like the Hutchison case here in the state of Tennessee that found that the medical examiner's report wasn't even testimonial because of the primary purpose for that being done. Here, they're trying to determine whether there is any kind of substance that would cause the death, just like a medical examiner would be doing. But in terms of violating Mr. Taylor's right to cross-examine witnesses, there is a witness here. Apparently, from Ms. Holland's question, she's got all kinds of proof how this isn't reliable based on her interview with Dr. Mid-Thune. So I do not find there's a constitutional violation preventing Dr. Mid-Thune from testifying. Or let the jury step down.
All right. We spun the wheels of justice. We got nowhere. We're right where we were in the morning before the defense filed the motion to question the validity of the blood and the testimony associated with it. Judge says it's coming in. There's no question. And we're moving forward. For those of you that are curious, in the Tyler Robinson case, the judge did sanction the prosecution for some of the comments they made to the media. Mr. Ballard specifically talking to the TMZ about having the strength of the case, knowing they can overcome the presumption of innocence. It was sanctioned for that civilly. He is ordered to pay the defense the costs of all this, the process of going through this, as well as the cost of the additional voir dire, expanded voir dire for the jury, as they're going to now have to ask additional questions for each jury member about that topic. So he's going to write a fat check to the defense and get his hand slapped, but Charlie Kirk's accused killer, Tyler Robinson, is still going to face the death penalty. The judge declined to take that off the table. Does he personally pay? I think it is a personal. It's a civil thing against him. So I think he might personally have to pay. I think he can afford it. But I'll turn down this noise here. The attorneys have been away from microphones. Hopefully we won't have to turn the gain up quite that high going forward, but we'll the witness is usually pretty well mic'd.
Good morning to you, ladies and the jury. Let the record reflect all of the jurors are here and present. I apologize for the delay. I know you were all here but just blame me for any kind of delay. We've dealt with a legal issue that I should have dealt with late last night after y'all left, but I didn't, so just blame me for any issues you have with the delay. All right, Dr. You'll step up.
Judge throws himself under the bus.
Raise your right hand at me.
Do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God? Judge, at some point I had 3 photographs that were sent out. I don't think I see those.
They're right there.
Good morning, Dr. Carney.
Good morning.
Could you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Erin, E-R-I-N, last name Carney, C-A-R-N-E-Y.
And Dr. Carney, where are you employed and what is your position?
I work at the Center for Forensic Medicine. We serve as the Davidson County Medical Examiner's Office and the Regional Forensic Center for Middle Tennessee, and I'm a forensic pathologist.
And what is your current position?
I am the Interim Chief Medical Examiner for Davidson County.
And how long have you worked at the Medical Examiner's Office?
I've been there, it'll be 13 years next week.
And prior to that, what did you do?
It's unlucky.
So prior to that, I did my education and training to become a forensic pathologist. I earned my Bachelor of Science degree in biology with a concentration in biochemistry and cellular and molecular biology at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I attended Vanderbilt University School of Medicine, where I earned my Doctor of Medicine degree. I completed residency in anatomic and clinical pathology at the Johns Hopkins Hospital and a forensic pathology fellowship at the State of Maryland Office of the Chief Medical Examiner.
And do you hold any certifications or medical licenses?
So I have medical licenses in the states of Tennessee, Texas, and Kansas, and I am board certified in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology.
And can you describe, do you do any teaching in the field?
Yes, so we teach residents in pathology who rotate through our office, and I am an assistant professor at Vanderbilt.
And approximately, can you estimate how many autopsies have you performed in your 13 years at the medical examiner's office?
I've performed over 3,000 autopsies.
And that's you yourself?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if I can pass the witness the document.
Okay.
Dr. Carney, do you recognize that document?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that a copy of your CV?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm to ask that that be made the next numbered exhibit, which I believe is number 30. Dr. Carney, can you describe what is an autopsy? What is that process?
So an autopsy is an examination of the body that consists of 2 parts. There's an external examination and an internal examination. For the external examination, I'm looking at the outside of the body. We will record the length of the body on the table to estimate their height in life, look at the hair color, the eye color, and I'll look for evidence of disease or injury that would help me understand why this person died. Then we'll do an internal examination that starts with a Y incision on the chest and abdomen, where we reflect the skin and soft tissue so I can see the ribs, look for any rib fractures. We'll cut through those ribs and take off that sternum and ribs, the chest plate, if you will, so I can see the internal organs and look for any bleeding or fluids around those organs maybe that shouldn't be there. And then I'll look carefully at each of the organs for evidence of disease or injury. And then finally, we do an incision behind the ears across the top of the head and reflect the scalp forward, and that way I can look for any bruising that might be hard to see if you have a lot of hair. And then we'll actually cut through the skull, and that way I can look at the brain and look for any evidence of stroke or bleeding in the brain.
And when you're completing an autopsy, what is kind of the ultimate determination that you are making as a medical examiner?
That the person is
So the
dead.
goal of the autopsy is to determine the cause of death.
And obviously there's many causes of death. Is there another determination that you assess?
Yes, so I'll want to determine the cause of death from autopsy. And then from the autopsy findings, in combination with the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death, I will come to a conclusion for the manner of death. That's a classification of death, and it typically fits into one of 5 categories. There's 6 on the death certificate because there's a pending option if we're still waiting on information.
And that determination of manner of death, is that for purposes of the death certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a legal determination that has anything to do with this criminal process?
No, ma'am.
And what are the 5, or you said actually 6, possible outcomes as to the manner of death?
So it's homicide, suicide, accident, natural, could not be determined, and then the 6th one, like I mentioned, is the pending investigation. So if I don't have all the information yet to make the determination in one of those 5, then they'll get a pending death certificate until I have everything.
And that is a separate standard that you use just for the death certificate, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you labeled something a homicide, it would not mean that a criminal homicide occurred, is that right?
Correct.
And many times it would not be determined from your perspective for purposes of the death certificate.
Yes.
But you still come to court and testify in criminal cases, even in that situation, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you perform the autopsy of Jade Tristan Benning on March 7th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
All right, this time I would proffer Dr. Carney as an expert in forensic pathology.
Okay. All right, again, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carney will be allowed to testify as an expert in that field and give her opinion that a lay witness wouldn't be allowed to give. You could place such weight upon her testimony as you choose to. Okay.
And at this time, I would ask that the witness be handed a document. Dr. Carney, did you complete a report of the autopsy that you completed on Jade Benning?
Yes, ma'am.
You have that report, I can take a look at it and let you know.
Yes, this is my autopsy report with the attached toxicology report.
Dr. Carney, how did you first get notified of Jade Benning? Was it when she was received by your office at the medical examiner?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Okay. The question was, when did you get notified about the death of Jade Benning?
Well, my office was called actually a few days after she went into the hospital because she had experienced this anoxic brain injury and it was believed that her death was imminent.
Is that a typical thing that happens?
Yes.
And once you were contacted, did you engage in discussions with people at Vanderbilt?
Yes.
And specifically, who were you speaking to at Vanderbilt?
I had a lot of dialogue with the toxicologist at Vanderbilt because initially Ms. Benning's reason for her brain to be deprived of oxygen, the reason that her heart stopped, was unknown. And so there was a lot of testing and trying to determine why this happened. And so we were in discussion trying to determine what might be her cause of death and what I might need to test for or look for when she came to my office.
And did you actually make requests related to Jade Benning before her body ever arrived at your office?
Yes. So when we are notified that a death is imminent and they're in the hospital for an extended period, and I think the toxicology could be very important in the case, then we want to make sure that that initial blood sample that was taken when they first came to the hospital is saved and not discarded. So we contacted the laboratory at Vanderbilt Hospital to make sure that they saved that blood for me to be able to test after her death was pronounced.
And Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed Exhibit 12, which I have, as well as 3 other photographs.
I like this witness. She enjoys her job, but not so much that it makes it creepy. We've all seen the creepy MEs.
Dr. Carney, do you recognize the image in Exhibit 12?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe what is that in that image?
So this is the hospital blood, the sample that I mentioned that was taken when she first arrived at the hospital that we asked them to save in the laboratory for us to pick up after she passed away. And this is that blood sample.
Your Honor, may I display this exhibit to the jury? I have it digitally.
Okay. And that exhibit has been talked about before. The photo, who made that?
Who made this photo? The photographer at my office took this picture. This was when the blood sample was transported to the medical examiner's office.
And Dr. Carney, does this have the specific date and time the blood sample was collected from Ms. Jade Benning?
Yes, ma'am. So you can see on the label it says 2/25/23 at 22:31, so 10:31 that evening.
And is there a Vanderbilt University medical record number also on that same label?
Yes.
And I guess, can you describe, does it have Ms. Benning's date of birth?
Yes. So her date of birth is listed there at the top of the sample. It's upside down in this picture, but yes.
3/6/1998.
And the labeling underneath it, can you describe what that is?
So whenever an individual comes to my office, they are given their own unique medical examiner case number. So the MEC number 23-0842 is Ms. Benning's specific case number. And then the date underneath it is the date that she died.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask that Exhibit 12, which was previously marked only for identification, be entered as Exhibit 12.
Okay.
Yeah, may I object and may I approach?
Okay. All right.
Objection approach. No static, please. No static. Oh, static. All right. Objection counter up to 76. I've counted about 4 this morning. I think we were at 72 at the end of last night. And not extremely high, considering we're only what 3-4 days into this case. We've seen other cases where the objection counter flies. Speaking of counters, by the way, I'm excited. In about a week, I should get my counter, my desktop SMIRL counter, SMIRL counter, which is a physical clock counter that actually flips the little numbers over to reveal the next number. And we're going to set it up so you guys can control it. So that you guys can see exactly how many likes there are on the stream, and at least that's our plan, if we can code it correctly, to integrate the number of likes. So when you click the like button, it will update, and through Lumia Stream, update the counter. So, excited about that. New edition. It's being mailed to me from France.
You also have 3 additional photos. Do you recognize those?
Maya trial was over 1,700, right?
When did you receive the blood sample on the one from 2/25/23 at 22:31? When did you receive that?
So that blood was actually transported to the medical examiner's office along with Ms. Benning's body on March 7th in the early hours of the morning.
And you said that it was photographed at your office, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then what, if anything, did you do with that vial of blood?
So I wanted to see what kind of tube it was in and how much blood was there so that I could determine what kind of testing I could order on it. And then I sent it to NMS Labs for the needed toxicology testing.
And can you explain what you mean by you wanted to see what type of tube it was in?
Well, typically when we draw blood at the time of autopsy, we put blood into a tube that has a gray top. It contains sodium fluoride, which is important to inactivate those esterases in the blood. It's these enzymes that can break down cocaine. And so they continue working even after death. And so I wanted to see what kind of tube it was. This is actually a clear top tube, so those esterases are still able to break down the cocaine. But just so I'm aware, and that way I order the correct testing so that I can not only see if there's cocaine there, but if there's those breakdown products that have probably been formed over the time that it's been in this tube in the hospital.
And Dr. Carney, can you explain why was it that you were wanting to have it tested for cocaine?
It was, I learned in the process of while Miss Penning was still in the hospital that she had a urine drug screen that was positive for cocaine.
And so once you received that file, did your office submit a request to NMS?
Yes, ma'am.
Just breaking things, sorry.
What is NMS Labs?
So NMS is a toxicology laboratory that is located in Pennsylvania, and they have a lot of capacity for testing, and so we send our specimens to them.
And did you send that specimen to them for testing?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they report the testing results to you?
Yes.
And then what, if anything, happened with the blood from Jade Benning from 2/25/23 and 22/31?
So when they were done with testing, they sent me a laboratory report with the results. I actually ended up talking to a toxicologist at NMS, and I let them know, typically they hold the blood for 1 year and then they discard it. So I let them know I did not want them to discard this, and then before that year was up and time to discard, I asked them to transport it back to my laboratory so that we could preserve it.
And do you recognize what is in those 3 photographs?
Yes.
And what is that?
So this is that same tube of blood that I asked them to send back to our office, and now it has their case label on it.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that those 3 photographs be entered as the next numbered exhibit, which I believe is 31.
Sure.
Birdie B, OG, 21 months. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Defense is fighting this hard. They have to fight this. This is some. If they can get this out, then we basically have no evidence that she was poisoned. There will be no poisoning evidence, other than possibly a little bit about her, behavior and slurred speech and things like that. But the actual details of what was in her blood all come in through this. Not sure why we're looking at the picture still. Keep the static up for a minute. Like on my briefs, I did a big thing no one in my friend or family group knows. Now we do, as soon as you tell us. Assuming it's legal, think carefully before you tell us what happened. Because we do want to know. Now we're curious. Just bought a house.
Okay.
That's awesome. Back in your childhood neighborhood.
Your Honor, may I have permission to publish the photographs for Exhibit 31 to the jury?
Okay. You need these? Okay.
Good morning,
Dr.
Peter.
Carney, can you see the image that is on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe what's in the image and how you were able to identify it.
So if you see on the tube, it has the case ID, which is her unique medical examiner case number and her name. And then the label at the bottom is one that we printed at my office to take the picture.
Oh, gee.
And the next image, which is 31B, can you describe what is shown here?
So here we have a barcode and we have a series of numbers. That 231-26889 number, that is the unique work order number that is attached to her laboratory report, her results.
And if you need to reference your autopsy report, do you recognize that work order number from NMS?
Yes, and even the 001 identifies it as the hospital blood for this particular case.
And can you, just for the record, read out what the work order number is and verify that it's the same in your autopsy report?
Yes, ma'am. 231-26889, which is the work order on the report as well.
And the next image, which is Exhibit 31C, can you describe what's shown here?
So this again confirms this is her hospital blood. It shows the date that we entered the order into the computer. And then the date, it looks like the date they received it. So we didn't ship it out the day that we ordered it. We usually send it out twice a week. So it got sent out likely on the 3rd for overnight shipping for them to have it first thing in the morning. And it's sent with cold packs to keep it in the best quality.
Just like caviar.
And where is that tube of blood now?
It is at my office.
And it is still at your office, is that correct?
That's correct.
Dr. Carney, when the blood was sent out, did you receive a report from NMS Labs?
I did.
And specifically, can you describe what was the testing that you requested and what was the testing that was done as it relates to that 225-23-22-31 hospital blood?
So I ordered a cocaine and products panel so I could catch not only the cocaine, but any breakdown products that may have formed while it was sitting in that tube. And then I also asked them to test for designer opioids.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to ask that Dr. Carney's autopsy report be made the next numbered exhibit. I believe that I can.
No objection.
Okay.
You have a copy.
Yes, ma'am.
No objections outside of the standing objections.
Okay.
Dr. Carney, your autopsy report, which is now Exhibit 32, did you incorporate the NMS lab work order number 231-26889 as part of your report?
Yes, I did.
And did you rely on these findings in making your determination as to the cause of death?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I publish a page from Dr. Carney's autopsy report to the jury that is part of Exhibit 32?
Okay.
Dr. Carney, can you describe what is shown here on the screen?
This is the front page of the toxicology report, and this shows the positive findings, the testing that I requested, and the specimens that they received. And it also has her identifying information up in the right-hand corner.
I think they can, as long as it's not destroyed.
Next image is kind of a zoomed-in image. Can you describe what was the testing that you requested as it related to just the item 001 hospital blood?
So if you see under testing requested, I asked for the 1303B test, which is cocaine and products panel on the blood, and then the 1480B designer opioids on the blood.
And going to just that first blood sample from the 225-23 at 2231, can you describe the toxicology results and kind of what those results mean? What is the result related to cocaine with a result of 78?
So this is the actual parent drug, cocaine that was present at 78 nanograms per milliliter in the blood.
And can you describe what that means of parent cocaine? When someone ingests cocaine, are there things that happen within your body, and are there other substances that are created?
Yes, so the body, you'll absorb the cocaine and have this parent drug, cocaine, in the blood. And then, like I mentioned, the enzymes will break it down, and so you have breakdown products. So these other two that are listed, the benzyl ecgonine and the ecgonine methyl ester, are the breakdown products.
And can you describe the difference between the two?
So you typically don't see a large amount of ecgonine methyl ester circulating in a live person's blood, but it very well can form post-mortem in a tube of blood or even in the body as the blood sits there and they're awaiting to have their blood drawn, for example, at an autopsy. So when we look at these breakdown products in the autopsy setting, this ecgonine methyl ester was likely parent cocaine at the time of the person's blood draw.
Your Honor,
but
I would object to this witness testifying to things that relate to toxicology as opposed to a pathologist, as she has not been qualified as an expert on toxicology.
Okay, do you want to ask whether she can, from her experience, make that connection?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm happy to. Dr. Carney, do you have training and experience in toxicology and interpreting these findings because it is required for you to determine a cause of death?
Yes, ma'am. That's part of my job, is to take toxicology results in the autopsy setting and apply them and determine a cause of death.
Do you perform autopsies where the outcome of the circumstances is the person overdosed on narcotics?
Yes.
So is this something that you do on a regular basis?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you extremely familiar with the topic that you were speaking about?
Yes.
All right, I'll overrule the objection. Go
May I take
ahead.
the witness on word aye?
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
If you could continue, you
Or
were
die or
explaining
deny.
that the ecgonine methyl ester, that it was most likely the parent cocaine. Can you describe what you mean by that?
So like I mentioned, this cocaine is about the only drug that does this, where the enzymes in the blood can continue to break it down after death. Most everything else relies on being circulated through the liver, and really nothing changes after death as far as if you get them to autopsy soon after death. In this case, the ecgonine methyl ester has formed because the esterase is in that clear top tube that didn't have the preservative to stop the breakdown, has broken down the cocaine into ecgonine methyl ester. So if you add the cocaine number and the ecgonine methyl ester number together, that will give us an idea of how much cocaine was in her blood at that point in time on February 25th, 2023 at 22:31.
And so is it your testimony that that amount would be 7,878 nanograms per milliliter?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would be the concentration of cocaine in Jade Benning's blood on February 25th, 2023 at 22:31 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Carney, you've already testified that you have performed autopsies where someone has overdosed. Can you describe, is that amount of cocaine in a person's blood, is that common?
No.
And so when you first got this case, you said you were talking to Dr. Bertolari, is that correct?
Correct.
Did people from my office, including myself, meet with you kind of early in the process, specifically about these toxicology results?
Yes.
And at that time when we met, had you ever seen an amount that high in an autopsy?
No.
And did you, I guess, go back and look at other autopsies that were done in your office?
I look primarily at my cases because I'm familiar with those. I've interpreted those. And that was almost 300 cases that I've signed out, the cause of death or contributory cause of death, including the drug cocaine.
And in that first time that we met, had you ever seen anything close to that level?
I could not recall anything this high.
What would a typical level be in a overdose where it's just cocaine, no other substances?
I'm not sure if she can testify to this.
From your 300 cases.
So I went back over the acute cocaine intoxications, and they're pretty much all under 1,000 nanograms per milliliter. 2 or 3 were in the 1,000 to 2,000 range.
And since that first meeting that we have, did you do another review looking for anything that compared to this particular result?
I did go back through looking at all of my acute cocaine intoxications, really trying to look at those carefully. I even looked at dozens of the ones that had cocaine plus other drugs involved.
And did you find anything that was similar to that amount of 78 nanograms per milliliter?
I found one.
And can you describe what was the result in the one case that you found?
The cocaine level was 10,000 nanograms per milliliter in the blood.
And going back
the whole
to
kilo.
the ones that you had done that you initially reviewed where 1,000 was the highest, can you describe what were the findings in your autopsies of the method of ingestion?
So a lot of these we do have scene investigations. They look for drug paraphernalia, and in many of those you would find evidence that the person smoked it, or perhaps we would call it nasal insufflation or snorting it, or intravenous injection if they were able to put it in a syringe and inject it into their veins.
Had you ever, done an autopsy before where oral ingestion was the method?
It's very uncommon, and I did not recall cocaine ingestion being a common method of administration.
The high is slower and not as high when it's ingested.
The medical examiner's office, an autopsy was performed. What was the method, or can you just describe the circumstances of that particular case?
That one was believed to be ingestion. It was someone who had been taken into custody, was believed to have swallowed something while in intake at the detention center, and then died during the booking process.
And when you say died during the booking process, what was the amount of time? And you said they ingested it. How did they ingest it?
Swallowed.
So it was an oral ingestion. Do you know an approximate time frame?
I don't, but it did not sound like it was a very long period of time.
So something that happened fairly quickly, comparatively speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
And in that autopsy, are you familiar with autopsies where there's been other oral ingestions of cocaine?
I did have another one with oral ingestion of cocaine, but it was mixed with another drug. And we knew that it was oral ingestion because I found the bag with the crystalline substance that had broken open that was still in the stomach.
And typically, what is the result going to be for cocaine in a case like that where someone swallowed a bullet? Have you looked at any data related to that?
Yes. So in the literature, it shows that those are the cases where they swallow cocaine in an attempt to transport it somewhere internally, not to use it for its effects, or they swallow it to avoid perhaps being caught with it. In those cases, the cocaine level is high.
Is it as high as the 78 or the 10,000 in the other case?
Yes.
And specifically that case with the 10,000, in that autopsy, was there a bag found?
No.
And can you describe what would the bag potentially have to do with what the cocaine level would ultimately be?
Well, if you have a bag or some sort of protective covering, then that's going to delay the time because then the acid in your stomach has to kind of break through that bag in order to get to the drug. So it should delay it.
And can you describe what information did you have about the method of ingestion related to Jade Benning and the subsequent cocaine testing?
I found from the police investigation there was concern that she may have ingested it by drinking it.
And are you familiar with the additional testing from NMS Labs, specifically of the substance on the comforter?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's your objection?
The line of questioning that she's going into in regards to any findings on that comforter at this stage.
Okay, do you care to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking her for...
She factored in something from further test of the comforter.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, let the lawyer approach.
Okay, another approach. The levels of cocaine they're saying that they detected in her system from this blood test are similar to the levels that would be seen in a drug mule that has swallowed the cocaine to escape detection during transport, and the bag either breaks open or is dissolved by the stomach acid. That's a lot. That's a ton. Ingesting cocaine typically takes about twice as long for the high to begin. Normally, it might be faster if it's in liquid form than if it's just like a balloon that bursts open in your stomach and then mixes. But the high also doesn't go as high. It's not because it is digested. It doesn't have as high an effect. I was studying about this a little bit, but even people who snort it through their nose, which is like the way to do it, I guess. Some of that actually goes down and can go down and be absorbed through stomach acid as well, which is interesting. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
Testing of the substance on the comforter. Can you describe when you're making your determination for cause of death, are you considering other testing that's done, things from the scene? What do you consider?
So forensic pathologists don't work in a vacuum. We do need that information from the scene, from the police investigation, so that way we can appropriately direct our testing, especially in a case like this when I don't have a lot of admission blood to work with. So we do look at that in totality.
And can you describe what information did you have? Did you make a determination as to how Ms. Benning ingested the cocaine that resulted in that toxicology report?
Well, yes. So based on the high level of cocaine, and knowing even from the literature, from the toxicology textbook, that you really see this in an oral ingestion, which is consistent with the investigation. I actually signed her death certificate to say ingested cocaine.
And going back to kind of the toxicology, when you're looking at, you said ingestion and levels, are there any studies that you sometimes reference to make a determination about maybe when this substance was ingested compared to when the level of the toxicology report is done?
Yes, so there are studies, and they've kind of pulled everything together, even in our toxicology textbook, that looks at the time frame from the time that it was taken into the body by whatever method, and the kind of high level, the peak level, is found.
And in those studies, I guess, can you describe what do you mean by peak level?
Well, in the study scenario, when you're actually administering cocaine to a volunteer, you can draw their blood serially and look and see how the levels, how the numbers change to try to determine how high are they going to go and at what point do they get there. So, and they've done those sorts of studies with low levels of cocaine.
And is those types of studies, are they looking at the half-life of cocaine or whatever the substance is?
They are. So they look at how quickly it shows up in the blood, what the numbers are, and then how long it takes for the parent cocaine to be broken down into those breakdown products, including that inactive metabolite benzoyl that you see.
And you referenced the studies that they were giving test subjects cocaine. What form of cocaine are given in those studies?
So there was one that I found that was for the oral ingestion. It was a capsule form, and it was, I believe, 100 and 200 milligram capsules.
In those studies where we have this capsule,
Mm-hmm.
are the peak levels anywhere near as high as Benny's?
No.
Can you explain what would happen if they were?
They would be deceased.
And looking at those studies, which obviously you've explained, it's a capsule, it's a low dose, what is the peak time generally?
So usually for those, the oral ingestion takes a while. I mean, the absorption from oral ingestion takes a while, so like 45 minutes to an hour. Now, they did have one where they looked in this country, ingestion is not a common thing, but in other countries, they may be able to chew those powdered coca leaves, and then they looked at those individuals with the low levels of cocaine chewing the leaves, and they saw the levels peaking at 24 minutes to an hour or two. And that's not in the capsule form.
That's
and
the
you
slow
said
release.
the capsule 45 minutes to an hour was kind of common.
Yes.
Are there any studies on anyone ingesting liquid cocaine?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Is it possible to liquefy cocaine?
Sure.
And
Put it in solution.
kind of comparatively speaking, those studies with the capsules, you can't really relate it to a liquid cocaine. It's different. Is that correct?
That's correct, because liquid medications are absorbed more quickly than a capsule or a hard, like, tablet form.
And the testing that we have from 225, 23, and 2231, where Ms. Benning's cocaine concentration was 78 nanograms per milliliter, are you able to say if that is a peak level?
No, that's what it was when she came into the hospital and they drew her blood, but I don't know if that's as high as she would have gone had she continued to live, or if she had already peaked. I really don't know. That's what we have at this point in time. I don't have subsequent blood samples to compare.
So any of those studies, they're not really comparing the two same things, correct?
Correct.
And can you go through and describe the autopsy of Ms. Benning and what your findings were, and explain the cause of death?
Yes. So Ms. Benning came to my office and I examined her body. I found that, like I mentioned before, she had the period of time where she didn't have a pulse and she wasn't able to supply her brain with enough oxygen. So she had what we would call an anoxic brain injury. When the brain is injured, it does one of two things. It bleeds or swells. It bleeds typically if it's been injured, like by blunt force injury or gunshot wound, and if it's not, then it usually swells. So her brain was very swollen. Unfortunately, there's only so much space in the skull for the brain to go, so when it gets really swollen, it pushes down on the bottom of the brain where you control your heartbeat and your breathing. So her brain had actually begun to herniate down out of her skull. So I saw brain swelling, cerebral edema, and herniation. The other things I found is the chambers of her heart were dilated, but her heart was not enlarged. And she was pregnant. So I saw the fetus, a baby girl, approximately 25 weeks gestational age. I examined the baby, and there was no anatomic or congenital malformation with the baby. It looked like a healthy, normal 25-week gestation pregnancy. I also did histology. I took samples from several of her organs, looked very carefully at her heart, even in the conduction system, that electrical system that causes your heart to beat normally, to see if there was anything wrong there, and submitted those. And let's see. I did not find that she had any pneumonia, did not see any infection in her lungs. She had a few heart cells that were a little bigger than normal, but she didn't have any infection. She didn't have a heart attack. I didn't see any inflammation in the placenta or the umbilical cord, any sort of infection that would have hurt the baby. So at the end of all that, and I have these toxicology results, the cause of death I determined was acute cocaine toxicity.
And can you describe, the toxicology results of Ms. Benning? Can you describe, once she ingested that liquid cocaine, what would happen to her body?
So cocaine causes your heart rate to go up, and your heart has to work harder. It actually causes the force of the contractions of the heart to be stronger. It also, unfortunately, clamps down on the blood vessels. It causes them to spasm or constrict. So your heart's working harder, but you're not able to supply it with oxygen as well. And really, it's affecting all of your blood vessels. So it's going to make it harder for you to supply all of your organs and tissues with the oxygen that you need. In some cases where people have used cocaine, they may actually have a heart attack. It can also cause an abnormal rhythm of the heart, particularly if it's high. And that abnormal rhythm, if it can't sustain life, then the person will become unconscious and lose their pulse.
You said that it could cause a heart attack. Did Ms. Benning suffer a heart attack?
No.
And you said that there was no problem with her heart. She had a healthy heart. Is that right?
Right. Well, the chambers were dilated, but the heart itself was not enlarged, and she has no history of any sort of heart problems, congestive heart failure, anything to make me think that that was an issue for her.
Is that something that is common in a pregnant woman?
It can happen, especially postpartum. They can have issues like that. The blood volume, increases in pregnancy.
But there was nothing unusual about that at all?
It was nothing concerning for a cause of death.
And can you describe if someone ingests liquid cocaine, would they immediately go into cardiac arrest?
Not seconds later. It would take a little bit of time for them to absorb it through the stomach wall, intestinal wall.
And kind of those first minutes, and I'm talking like maybe 2 to 3 minutes, what would the effects do to the body? Would it make it perfect?
The question before you kept going was, what would it do to your body?
So it's like I mentioned, what cocaine is going to do to the body. It's going to cause the heart rate to go up. It's going to cause the arteries to kind of constrict or be small, or kind of clamp down, tighten up to where it's harder for the blood to flow through them. But you're going to have to absorb it into your bloodstream in order for it to affect you. So you've got to have time for that absorption. Not long if it's going to be a liquid form, or unencapsulated form.
And would you expect someone to be dizzy?
They can be, yes.
Would you expect them to continue to be able to walk?
You could walk initially, but as the level rises, it's going to affect you more.
And then what about any type of, aspirating or vomiting? Would that be something that you would expect to occur?
That is a common thing to happen in a lot of deaths.
And if someone describes someone as snoring, does that have anything to do with these symptoms?
Snoring often, especially when it's around the time of death, often refers to agonal breathing. So it's kind of that gasping breaths that can sound like snoring.
And agonal breathing, you said it's close to death. Is there any type of time frame that you can give to that?
I'm not sure, but we do hear it very frequently where they'll say someone's snoring and then they stop breathing completely. And it's probably because they were gasping for some period of time and then they stop breathing.
Would the person be able to vomit after that?
Yes. People vomit pretty routinely close to the time of death when they're unconscious. And then that's where we run in with some aspiration issues for people who make it to the hospital and survive for a period of time.
You said the person would be unconscious.
Yes.
And I guess What happens to the body when you have that lack of oxygen to your brain?
That's why her brain is swelling. So once you deprive the brain of oxygen for too long and it can't recover, it will swell. And it'll swell to the point where we have, like in her case, you know, the herniation out of the skull, and it causes their death because it presses on that center that controls your heartbeat and your breathing.
And so you said that the studies that you referenced about oral ingestion, that time frame can't really be compared to this. If you had the circumstances of Miss Benning being able to paint words on a photo at 9:10 p.m. and at 9:24 p.m. she's been painting, and the word beautiful is now added to the photograph. It's been painted. The words are legible. You can see them. If that happens between 9:10 and 9:24, and then there's 4 minutes of photographs taken where you can't really tell anything about symptoms. But then 19 minutes from that kind of first painting, she's added words at 9:24, and then at 9:29 p.m., there's a phone call where someone describes Ms. Benning as being able to talk at the beginning of the 6-minute call, but by the end of the 6-minute call, her words do not form and make any sense. And then she is found by EMTs within 20 minutes of that, and she is pulseless. That time frame, is that consistent with her ingesting that cocaine within 30 minutes of her being found pulseless?
Yes, ma'am.
There it is. All those things line up with what would be expected.
Talk about Miss Benning's unborn baby girl. You did an autopsy on the fetus as well, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe what actually caused James Benning death?
So acute cocaine toxicity caused Miss Benning to die.
So it was the cocaine in and of itself?
Yes.
And she was pregnant.
Yes.
Is there anything about cocaine and pregnant women that is, I guess, something that you know about?
Yes. So cocaine is one of the only drugs that we know can cause pregnancy loss, because it can cause placental abruption, where the placenta pulls away from the uterine wall. That disrupts the blood flow from mom to baby, so now baby's not getting the oxygen that it needs through the blood, and then baby dies.
And did Miss Benning suffer placental abruption?
No.
And I guess why is that?
Well, she died of the cocaine toxicity, and so the abruption maybe didn't have time to occur, or just didn't occur in this case.
And I guess if she maybe had been given less cocaine, is it possible that it could have caused a placental abruption?
It could have.
And this information about cocaine and pregnant women and the cause that it causes placental abruption, are there studies on that?
Oh, yes.
And you said, oh, yes. Can you describe how many studies are there on that?
I don't know how many studies, but they're out there, because that's something that I searched early in my career to learn the connection between drugs and pregnancy loss, and that was one of the clear connections, was cocaine and placental abruption and pregnancy loss.
And are those studies available on the internet?
Yes.
That was mom.
Can you describe, you said that there was no placental abruption to Jade Benning's unborn baby girl. Can you describe the autopsy of her unborn baby?
Yes.
Oh man, this is tough.
All right. So
take a break if needed.
Sorry, I was looking for the weight here. We have an 830-gram female fetus, and then I have all the measurements listed. We take the weight and the measurements to compare it to a chart to see how far along the pregnancy was, and it fit with a 25-week gestation pregnancy. She was in the uterus, the baby surrounded by amniotic fluid. The amniotic fluid was yellow, but there were green particles in it concerning for meconium, which you typically see when the child is distressed. So the child was under some sort of stress, which means they basically had their first bowel movement in utero into that amniotic fluid. Then I measured the placenta. I saw a 3-vessel umbilical cord, which is normal. I did not see any adherent coagulated blood on the placenta that you might see with abruption. And I didn't see any evidence of infection, nor did I see any under the microscope. And then I looked at the organs. All the organs were in the right place. The weights were accurate and as expected. No other abnormalities with the child.
If Jade Benning had not ingested the liquid cocaine that she did,
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, you want to rephrase your question?
I hadn't finished my question, Your Honor.
She's objecting to
Me asking
the way
her.
you phrased it.
Dr. Carney, if Jade Benning had lived, would you have expected her to have a healthy pregnancy based on your autopsy of her unborn baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there anything wrong with her baby?
No.
Would her baby be able to live after ingesting that level of cocaine?
Would the baby be able to live after mother ingested that level of cocaine?
Mother ingested that cocaine, and
Right.
could her baby have lived without her?
Okay, so I understand the question. So the baby died because mother died.
And did you do further testing
I thought the baby died
of
first.
anything related to the baby's organs?
Yes, I sent the liver tissue from the fetus for testing.
And can you describe why did you do that?
I was looking for the presence of any sort of drugs that might have circulated through the baby's liver while mom was under the influence of this drug.
And you said that you submitted that liver tissue specifically for testing.
Yes.
And is that result also incorporated in your autopsy report?
Yes.
And can you describe what was that result?
So the liver tissue was presumptively positive for fluconazole. That's an antifungal commonly given to women for yeast infections.
And did you have any other information related to the testing of that liver tissue?
There were no other positive findings reported. Based on further investigation, I called and discussed the toxicology findings in this case with a toxicologist at NMS Labs. They said that cocaine was found, it was triggered in the liver tissue, but it was very close to the cutoff limit. So they said if we sent it for confirmation, it might not show as positive because it was so close to the reporting limit, but it was there. And in forensic pathology, we're often interested if a drug is even present. So that's why I asked.
And that liver sample was taken on March 7th, is that correct? The liver tissue?
Yes, ma'am.
And so that would have been 10 days after ingestion.
Yes.
And can you describe what would happen to, I guess you were talking about the ingestion of cocaine, that it clamps down on the blood vessels.
Yes.
That ingestion of cocaine by Jade Benning, what would have been happening to the baby at that moment?
Well, everything that's in mom's blood goes into baby's circulation as well. So clearly the cocaine in her blood did make it into the baby and was still in the liver even 10 days later. Unfortunately, because the cocaine causes that difficulty for the blood to flow to all the organs and tissues, including the uterus and the baby is likely deprived of oxygen during this time. So by the time EMS makes it to Miss Benning, she doesn't have a pulse, so she doesn't have enough of a blood pressure to supply her own brain with oxygen, she's not going to be able to supply the baby with adequate oxygen either because she doesn't have enough of a blood pressure. They worked very hard to try to save her and took her to the hospital, but they didn't get actual circulation back for some time. I mean, there's I believe a 12-minute gap between the time they left the scene, they get her to the hospital, and at some point after that, they get her circulation back. And my understanding is the first evaluation of the baby, as mentioned in the medical record, is the heart rate was already low. So she had already been deprived of oxygen as well.
And Dr. Carney, you referenced the medical record. Did you review other, records related to the medical health of Ms. Benning as well as her unborn baby?
I did try to obtain as many of the OB records as I could find.
So you had her records from Dr. Mullally and the UMC?
I believe that's where it was, yes.
As well as her Jade Benning's medical records from being in Vanderbilt University Medical Center, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were mentioning the baby's heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what happens, medically, what does that mean when a baby has a heart rate as low as Ms. Benning's unborn baby that I believe went down to 30 beats per minute?
It's very concerning because, again, she doesn't have, her heart is responding to not getting enough oxygen. It's not beating normally because normally the heart rate is much higher. So I know there was a lot of concern that, the baby wasn't getting enough oxygen and was already in the same kind of scenario as mother with that anoxic brain injury.
Is it possible if anyone made a decision to do a cesarean section and take the baby, is it possible the baby would be in the exact same condition as Ms. Benning?
Yes, and then you have also the added challenge of, at that point when she first went into the hospital, the baby was only about 24 weeks, even 25 at autopsy. So at that point, the lungs aren't very well developed, and it's really difficult to oxygenate those little ones and for them to survive.
Thank you, Dr. Kearney. I don't have any other questions.
All right, question.
Actually, I'm sorry, I did forget to ask something.
Excuse me?
I did forget to ask a question. May I ask?
Okay.
Dr. Kearney, did you determine the manner of death?
Yes.
And what was the manner of death?
Could not be determined.
And you did not make a determination on that, correct?
Correct. The circumstances surrounding her ingestion of cocaine were very concerning, that she ingested this unknowingly. Most cocaine intoxication, someone is taking the drug for wanting to get the effects, and so we would call it an accident because they didn't take it to try to kill themselves. In this case, police investigation did not show any history of illicit drug use. Everything that they found that as soon as she found out she was pregnant, she wanted to do everything she could to take care of herself and take care of that baby. And it didn't really fit with your classic using drugs for the euphoric effects and accidental death. It was much more suspicious that someone gave it to her without her knowledge, but it didn't have enough to get to that, homicide determination.
But jury,
and your autopsy
you're asked
report,
to do just that.
Was completed, I believe, August 11th of 2023. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Dr. Kearney.
Can't believe she said police investigation didn't find any evidence of illicit drug use when police investigation did find some text messages with mushrooms and marijuana.
I have a few questions for you, Dr. Kearney.
Okay.
Just so the jury knows, we've met before, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk a little bit first about your qualifications.
Okay.
You are, in fact, a pathologist medical examiner.
Correct.
And that's what you went to school to learn to do, correct?
Yeah, for my training, yes.
You are not a toxicologist.
That's correct.
And have not been to school to become a toxicologist.
That's correct.
you'll agree with me that is a totally different area of expertise.
That's different because that's taking the blood and taking it through the machines and interpreting the data. So that's not what I do.
And it takes a whole nother specialized training to understand the toxicology, let's say, for example, cocaine, and the metabolites like the BCE and the MEE, which are the metabolites of cocaine, correct?
It takes training to be able to test for those, interpret them in the data, yes. My training is in taking those toxicology results in the setting of that autopsy. I did actually spend a whole month in the toxicology lab as a resident, and then I rotated again as a forensic pathology fellow so that I could learn how this is done, what's important in the autopsies, and how to interpret them to determine cause of death.
But just so that the jury is clear, that doesn't make you a toxicologist, correct?
That's correct.
And it takes, if we were to ask a toxicologist, if 1 month in a lab is all it takes to be able to become an expert, would they agree or disagree?
Well, I'm not an expert in performing the toxicology. My expertise is in taking those toxicology results in the setting of the autopsy to determine cause of death. A toxicologist will not determine a cause of death.
No, of course not. Tell me exactly then, outside of that month, what other trainings have you had in regards to toxicology?
So in my fellowship and in the 13 years that I've practiced since, it's been my job to take these toxicology results in almost every autopsy I perform and apply those to that case to determine if it is a toxicologic cause of death or not.
But my question was the training. What training, and not on-the-job training in terms of I have a body in front of me that has toxicology results. Mm-hmm. What specific schooling and training do you have outside of that month for toxicology?
Like I said, in your fellowship, you learn how to apply results. You have attending pathologists that you can ask questions of. There's toxicologists to ask questions of. And then you continue to do that in your practice.
So no schooling?
There's no specific schooling for that, no. You don't go to a special set of training in order to learn how to do this as part of forensic pathology. It's part of your forensic pathology training.
I'm speaking about toxicology. That's the question before the jury. Toxicology schooling and training.
But I don't perform the toxicology testing. I take the results and apply them. That's part of forensic pathology training and practice.
And that's a different area of training and schooling as well, to interpret toxicology results, is it not?
And that's what I do. That's what I was trained to do in my forensic pathology fellowship and what I've been doing for years.
Okay. And what school did you go to for that toxicology training?
I went to the State of Maryland Office of the Chief Medical Examiner for my forensic pathology fellowship in which I was trained.
Okay. And you were there though for forensic pathology, not toxicology. Let's go now to...
She's got training in interpretive toxicology.
Very good. So let's go now to your duties here with Ms. Benning.
Okay.
When did you first learn about this case?
I first learned about the case when she was still in the hospital, in the intensive care unit.
And do you remember when that was?
That was February 28th. My office was notified.
Who were you notified by?
The initial note mentions a physician at Vanderbilt, but it did not have a name. Here we go. A physician from Vanderbilt contacted the office, and then we were also called by the toxicologist at Vanderbilt.
Oh, there was a toxicologist that was involved?
Yes.
What was that toxicologist's name?
Dr. Rebecca Brucolari.
And do you remember the purpose of the call?
The initial call to our office was to let us know that she was expected to die of her anoxic brain injury, and given the case information, that she would be a medical examiner case.
Okay. And so was there anything specific that they needed you to do at that time?
There was a question about whether or not she was a consented organ donor, so there was a question about organ donation.
Were you aware that at some point prior to her coming to your office, and speaking about Ms. Benning, that there was an investigation going on in regards to whether or not she ingested some type of drug?
Yes.
And over the course of that time, did you ever have an opportunity to speak with the homicide detective, Adam Reese?
Yes.
Did you also have an opportunity over the course of that time to speak with General Norman?
Yes, I think I did speak to General Norman during that time frame, or shortly after.
And all of this was prior to Ms. Benning getting to your office?
Correct.
Arriving at your office, okay. So when Ms. Benning arrived at your office, you performed the autopsy, correct?
That's correct.
And you'll agree with me, I was very early on, that an autopsy is not done in a vacuum. Have you ever heard that phrase?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what that means?
Well, it means that we need to know what the circumstances are surrounding the death, because there are some deaths that don't have specific autopsy findings, or they have very few. So we need to know how to interpret that in the setting of the circumstances surrounding death.
And that just basically means you can't, sometimes you just can't look at the body and the body itself.
Correct.
In order to determine the manner of death.
Or even, yeah, that's true.
Okay, fair enough. And so would you say then that you would consider Ms. Benning's case one of those cases where you had to look at circumstances outside of the body?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, knowing that you now are looking for a specific drug, perhaps, that there is a homicide investigation going on, what did you do to try to determine what, if any, drugs Ms. Benning would have been involved with?
There was more than 1 urine drug screen that was performed at the hospital. And there was additional testing done because they were trying to determine at the hospital if there was any drug that she had ingested that they could treat for, maybe understand why she was in the state she was in. So I did talk to the toxicologist about that to find out what had been tested, if anything was positive, what was negative, and that could help me direct the testing on the small amount of blood I had to work with.
So you were looking then for particular drugs based on all of the investigations surrounding this death?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take a hair sample?
No.
You did not?
Not for toxicology testing, no.
But did you take a hair sample?
Because she's a suspected homicide, there might have been some sort of hair sample collected, but it was not used for toxicology.
May I ask that I pass an exhibit for identification purposes? Would it help you if I showed you a couple of pictures that were a result of your testing and or collection to refresh your memory?
Okay. Yes.
So do you remember taking a hair sample?
Yes, so this is a pretty common practice with a homicide investigation that we would take a hair sample, but it was one that's not used for toxicology testing.
Okay. And did you take fingernail scrapings?
In this case, we did fingernail clippings.
Clippings?
Yes.
So there were no fingernail scrapings?
I don't usually do scrapings. I'll actually clip the whole nail itself, or the end of the nail where you would have the scrapings, and just take the whole thing and put it in the envelope for them to test.
Okay. And did you have, knowing that, because you got the body on March the 7th?
Yes.
And you did not make your findings until August 31st?
Yes. Or August 11th, I believe it was.
I'm sorry, August 11th?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And during this 5 months, I think you stated that the matter of death was pending.
Correct.
So you were trying to find what involvement, if any, Ms. Benning would have had with drugs.
Correct.
Okay. And so then did you send that hair sample out to be tested?
No.
Why not?
don't normally test for hair. That's kind of for long-term things, and usually I think I've only sent hair for heavy metals testing. It's not a common thing that I test for illicit drugs.
I apologize.
Sure.
But you can find the different types of drugs that a person may have been involved with, come in contact with, or utilized with the hair sample. Can you not?
It's possible. I've not tested hair for cocaine.
But you can do that, can't you?
I think you can.
You don't?
I'm not sure. I've never done it, so I haven't checked into that.
What about to test the fingernail clippings? Did you have any of that tested?
No, actually, I gave the fingernail clippings. I believe that was picked up by the police department.
Have you ever heard of someone taking cocaine with their finger and doing it like that?
It is possible.
So wouldn't it have been important in trying to determine what happened truthfully to Miss Benning to have those scrapings tested?
I've never sent clippings for drug testing.
And so you did not do that either?
No.
So you landed on the testing for the blood?
Yes.
And did you try any other means or methods to determine what types of drugs she would have been involved with?
Any other means other than
testing?
testing?
Any other means that you as a pathologist can engage in to determine what type of drugs that Ms. Benning could have been involved with?
Well, blood is really what we want to know, if there's any drugs there, because that's what's going to be circulating through her system. And we have a peripheral blood sample, which is ideal. So from that, we know what drugs are circulating in her system at the time that she goes into the hospital. There was other testing done, and I did try to gather all of that in order to direct my testing.
What about the vitreous fluid? Did you do that? Can you educate the jury what the vitreous fluid is?
Vitreous fluid is the fluid of the eyeball, and we do collect that on every autopsy. You can test that for, occasionally I will test it for drugs. Usually I want to use that to look at their electrolytes to see if they were dehydrated, if there's any chance they might have had high blood sugar or died of, a diabetic crisis. But yes, so we do have vitreous fluid that we draw in each case.
Did you draw that from Ms. Benning in your search for what type of drug she was using?
I believe we did. Verify that. I did not send the vitreous fluid, but I think we did collect it. Although I wasn't concerned about her hydration levels, considering she'd been in the hospital and that had already been followed.
Well, you don't have to look for this.
Right.
Will you agree with me that you can do drug testing with vitreous fluid?
You can.
And sometimes it's the best way to test for different types of substances.
I don't know that I would say the best way, actually. Blood is the best.
Okay. But it is, in fact, able to be done.
It is a way. I have used vitreous fluid to test for a substance that normally I would use urine for, and I didn't have any urine in the case, so I used the vitreous.
Now, you talked about the findings in this case in regards to the blood.
Yes.
And you stated that based on you adding the amount of the EME,
yes,
along with the cocaine, in your opinion, was the best way to come up with how much parent cocaine she would have had in her system.
Correct.
Can you explain that to us, please?
Well, like I mentioned before, there are enzymes in the blood that can break down cocaine even after someone has died, unless you get it into that tube with the sodium fluoride, which we didn't have in this case. So there was a week, 10 days in the hospital that blood, cocaine could be broken down, and then additional time before it got to the laboratory to be tested. So there was quite a long time for the cocaine to be broken down. So that's why it's important to look at both of those.
And so that we can educate the jury, the cocaine itself would be the parent cocaine, right?
Right.
The BE is the next metabolite that parent cocaine will break down to, correct?
So that is a breakdown product that is inactive, and it can build up and be there for a little while.
And then you have, from BE, it goes to EME, is that correct?
I don't think it goes in that order, but with this one, we're worried about the cocaine being broken down in the tube after death, and it gets broken down into ecgonine methyl ester.
Okay. And those are the 3 levels in which cocaine breaks down.
Yeah, those are the 3, the cocaine plus the 2 breakdown products.
And it's your testimony that the best way to determine from Ms. Benning about how much cocaine would have been in her system on 225 would be to add the parent cocaine with the EME. That's your testimony.
That's correct.
And the 7,878 nanograms per liter is a huge number. Will you agree with me?
Per milliliter. Yes, it is.
Okay. And it is too much, I think you stated, for the body to take.
Right. It can be overwhelming for the heart.
Now, you're not stating that everyone who has a level of 78 ends in death, are you?
I'm not aware of someone with that level surviving.
Okay, so is your opinion that anyone who has that kind of level would be dead?
It's hard sometimes to interpret in some of these illicit drug levels what's a lethal dose, because you have to find out, have they been using cocaine over time? Have they developed tolerance? Maybe they can handle higher levels. In this case, she is a naive user, so for her, this is too much for her.
Now, how did you come to the conclusion she was a naive user?
The investigation did not reveal any history of cocaine use.
And who relayed that information to you? How did you come to that determination?
That was talking to the police, because they did the investigation into, anything about her.
And who specifically did you speak with in regards to that conclusion?
I believe I talked to Detective Reese, because I specifically asked him about a history of drug use.
And what did he tell you?
That she was not known to partake of cocaine.
Did he tell you cocaine or drugs, period?
This was specific to when I was asking about the cocaine.
Did you ever make a statement that you were told through the police investigation that there was no history of drug use, period?
Yes, she did.
No, I don't think I said that. Because I think in the past there might have been some marijuana edibles.
Sorry?
I believe she may have used marijuana in the past.
So you don't think you ever said that?
Let's see. Yeah, see here it says, no history with illicit drugs other than marijuana used to make edibles. So no other illicit drug use, specifically cocaine.
Would it help you if I was to show you your testimony from the bond hearing to refresh your memory about whether or not that statement was ever made?
Sure.
Spoiler alert, you made the statement.
Okay.
Or something very similar to it. She sort of made the statement today as well, right at the end of the state's direct examination of her.
So if you're referring to this, I stated, the investigation does not show Ms. Benning as someone who used drugs historically or even recently close to her time of death. It doesn't appear that she used this sort of illicit drug in the past. So referring to the cocaine.
And so when you stated that it doesn't appear that she had the history of using any drugs, you're saying that you were speaking about cocaine?
Yes, because I specifically say this sort of illicit drug.
Now, can you tell me when you talked about things that you look for, when you talked about cocaine, seeing it in the past, things that were in the system, you remember talking about that?
Yes.
And did you see other things in her system that that at least would have caused you some concern or to consider?
In my testing, no.
No, and Ms. Benning's history in any of the testing?
There were several other rounds of testing that were done, but most of those, well, actually all of those were after this initial sample. So she was at the hospital and was given various medications to treat her at the hospital. So those medications showed up in that testing.
Well, specifically, you stated on direct with the marijuana, you were looking at different things that were in there, correct? In her system.
Right.
Did you notice that cocaethylene was present in her system?
No. There's no cocaethylene in her blood.
Do you remember where there was a confirmation testing that was done on cocaethylene?
No. And there's no, the cocaethylene testing was done on the hospital blood. The reporting limit is quite low, and there was none there.
Quite low, like you talked about with the cocaine in the baby's liver?
Right. So
and you testified that you noticed in the baby's liver there was cocaine, but it wasn't on the reporting level, right?
No, I asked the toxicologist if there was a presence of any. I think I asked about cocaine and I asked about marijuana, and they said they did see some cocaine, but it was near the reporting limit.
Right, but you testified earlier that even though it wasn't in the reporting limit, it was there, it was present, and so you'd like to look at that in order to make a determination.
Yeah, I was interested in learning that information. Yes.
That would be the same thing for cocaethylene, would it not?
Right, but I wasn't aware there was any cocaethylene there. And the reporting limit is it's very low, at 10 nanograms per milliliter.
But in the same manner that cocaine was there in the liver, the cocaethylene is present too. It's just not in the reporting, above the reporting limit.
I'm not aware that there's any cocaethylene in this blood. I was not told that at all.
Well, why would a lab do confirmation testing if cocaethylene did not show up at all?
They did confirmation test. Well, they did testing for benzoylecgonine, cocaethylene, cocaine, and ethylene methyl ester. That's what the cocaine and products panel includes. So they tested for all of that as part of that panel.
But why would a lab do confirmation testing? Because let's talk about that.
The confirmation testing that's listed here is on the liver tissue.
Mm-hmm. That's her baby, is it not?
Right.
And you just testified that what's in mama is in the baby as well, correct?
I said that the cocaine was in her at a very low level. But I wasn't told that there was any VE or cocaethylene. We just talked about cocaine.
Any substance that is in the baby can only get there if it comes through mom. Is that correct?
Right. And I wasn't told that there was any cocaethylene in the baby.
Did you look at the results to see whether or not there was cocaethylene in the baby?
There's no cocaine, cocaethylene, or benzoylecgonine reported on this for the baby. I specifically called and asked the toxicologist about the presence of cocaine and was told yes.
That's not my question. I understand what was reported here. I'm asking whether or not the presence of cocaethylene was present in the baby liver at all.
I was not told there was any cocaethylene in mom or baby.
If the baby did have the presence of cocaethylene, but just not above the reportable limit, what does that mean?
I don't know what you're getting at. I asked about cocaine, and I was not told there was any cocaethylene.
Right, but I'm asking a different question.
So we're getting into hypotheticals now. If there was cocaine ethylene, because there's not any. So if it was there.
So is your testimony today, there was no cocaethylene in Ms. Benning, if I can finish?
Sure.
And Ms. Benning in or the fetus? It's a simple question. Is that your testimony?
It is correct. I'm not aware of any cocaethylene in mom or baby, either on the report or in my discussions with the toxicologist.
If you were to learn later that there was in fact cocaethylene in the baby or in mom, how would that change your evaluation?
It wouldn't.
What is cocaethylene?
Cocaethylene is formed when cocaine and ethanol or alcohol is in the blood at the same time.
And that would mean whoever has cocaethylene in their system was drinking alcohol and taking cocaine at the same time.
You want to show her something that shows that? And she says she is not aware.
Well, I can show her the lab she's looking at where it specifically states that there was a confirmation test for cocaethylene.
Okay, she's got that. Do you see?
Yes, the confirmation test was for benzoylecgonine, cocaethylene, and cocaine, and none of them came up as positives on this page.
There's a screening test that's done before a confirmation test, is it not?
Correct.
And if something doesn't show up on the screen test, then it doesn't pass on to the confirmation test. Would you agree?
Correct. Because you could have a false positive. You want to confirm it.
Right. I'm not talking about false positives. And a lab will not move from screening to confirmation unless something shows up positive, correct?
Correct.
And in this case, there was a confirmation test for cocaethylene.
Sure.
That means that during the screening process, there was a presence of cocaethylene, not what the ending result ended up, but there was a presence that made them move from screening to confirmation.
There was something of concern, it appears, for them to further test.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about your conclusion in regards to Ms. Benning and the ingestion of cocaine.
Okay.
In order to arrive at the number of 7,878 nanograms per liters of cocaine.
Milliliter. Yes.
Milliliters, I'm sorry, of cocaine. Can you tell us how you believe that Ms. Benning would have had to ingest that?
When you look at the literature, it shows that you do not get these levels with all the other routes of administration. You really only get it with ingestion.
And it's your testimony that ingestion for Ms. Benning would have been through a liquid cocaine?
I don't know how it was ingested. I just know it was ingested.
Would you opine that it was one bolus dose or over a period of time?
I don't know. I know from, obviously, the investigation, she doesn't have a prolonged period of symptoms.
So you believe it would have been one bolus dose more likely than not?
It could be, yes.
How much cocaine is 7,878 nanograms per milliliters? Could you give us an example of equating what we would look, an apple, an orange, a lemon?
So, unfortunately, with illicit drugs, there's no quality control or testing process like you have with your normal medications that you buy over the counter or from the pharmacy, so it's in a tablet dose and you know exactly how much it is. I have no way of knowing how much powder or liquid or how pure it was. I can't give you any specific size or amount.
But you'll agree with me it would be a whole lot, right?
If it's a very concentrated dose, it might not be like a large size of something.
So it could be very small.
It could be.
And then if it's very small, it could be something someone took on their own. Could it not?
It's possible.
Will you agree with me that most overdoses are a result of an accidental overdose?
Yes.
And in our hypothetical just previous that we talked about that because of the concentration it could be very small, then it also could be an accidental overdose of someone who took a small dose.
You mean like a small amount that turned out to be more than they thought?
Like we just talked about, yes.
Yes.
You're stating today that you've never seen prior to this dose or this case doses of that amount of cocaine.
Yeah, I only found the one.
Okay, so there was one you've seen before?
There was one, yes.
Okay, just making sure. Let's talk a little bit about the heart cells.
Okay.
Ms. Benning had enlarged heart cells, not major, but they were a little larger than normal, were they not?
Correct. She had focal myocyte hypertrophy in the left ventricle.
Okay, and what does that mean?
It's a small focus where the heart cells are a little bit bigger than normal.
And an occasional, hypothetically, an occasional cocaine user would have enlarged heart cells similar to what you described, would they not?
You know, I'm not sure about that. I've seen chronic cocaine users who have developed high blood pressure and thickened left ventricles, but I don't know about the occasional, if it affects the cells on the. It's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible.
Now, did you learn at some point that Ms. Benning tested positive also for fentanyl?
Yes.
And you familiar with the opioid crisis in our country today?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, to the relevance.
What's your next question?
And you'll agree with me specifically during this time that Nashville itself had an issue with fentanyl overdosing.
Objection, Your Honor, to the relevance.
Do you care to be heard?
Yes, this goes to our defensive theory, Your Honor.
Do you have any studies that show in Nashville how many fentanyl overdoses there were?
I don't have them handy, but it's definitely been on the rise over the last several years and has been followed.
And there is currently an issue with what they call a fourth wave of the opioid crisis, where there's a mix of fentanyl and a psychostimulant such as cocaine. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Fentanyl is often mixed with other drugs.
And that would be something similar and analogous to exactly, well, let me back that up. If someone was to overdose on fentanyl and cocaine, that would be consistent with the current rave of the opioid crisis today.
Yes.
Given that Ms. Benning had fentanyl as well as cocaine in her system.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is mischaracterizing.
She's what?
She's mischaracterizing.
Mischaracterizing the evidence.
Okay. Do you want to ask her where that came from her opinion?
No, I wanted to ask her whether or not.
You can do whatever redirect you want. What is your question?
If Ms. Benning had fentanyl and cocaine in her system, certainly that fentanyl could have contributed to her death, couldn't it?
It could. However, the fentanyl that I've learned about that was found in that testing was after she was given fentanyl at the hospital in course of her treatment.
Were you aware that she tested positive for fentanyl prior to being administered fentanyl in the hospital?
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is misstating the evidence.
Your Honor, no, I'm not.
Do you know, can you help them understand when it was given?
So fentanyl was ordered at the hospital and was given to her. And I believe there's been a lot of work to clarify the blood samples, but the blood sample that is positive for fentanyl is after she was given fentanyl at the hospital.
Okay.
Are you aware that at 22:59, that there was a urine sample that tested positive for fentanyl from Ms. Benning? Are you aware of that?
Again, objection, Your Honor. Counsel is misstating.
Okay. Dr. Olashuga testified all negative in urine results from 22:59.
Your Honor, we have direct evidence, and I'm asking
Okay, well,
her.
we haven't gotten there. They're objecting to your question is not accurate. So whatever proof you want to put on that it's not, then that's fine.
Hypothetically, if Ms. Benning tested positive for fentanyl prior to being administered fentanyl in the hospital, would that affect your decision as to what could have caused her death?
Well, I would want to know what the level was, and we can look at whether or not it's fentanyl and cocaine causing her death. But everything that I've found, that urine drug screen that was positive for fentanyl was also positive for an anti-seizure medication that was given at the hospital. So I believe that fentanyl is administered by the doctors treating her, not illicit drug.
I understand that. Are you aware of the metabolite 4-ANPP?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that that's more in tune with illicit use as opposed to a medical use?
It has been in the past, but apparently that has now come up positive in fentanyl that is administered by a hospital, or by a doctor. So it doesn't really carry a lot of weight with me anymore.
But it used to carry a lot.
It used to, but not anymore. And I know that was negative for acetylfentanyl, which was also tested and is more in the illicit drugs.
I'm not asking about acetaminophen. I'm asking about 4-AN.
Well, I use that to kind of help in that determination.
I understand.
Sure.
I'm speaking of 4-AN. There was a time where that was important to you, right?
Right.
And it was indicative of illicit use, was it not?
Yes.
And so, if Ms. Benning hypothetically tested positive for 4-ANPP prior to you changing your thought process on it, it would make you believe that there was illicit use, correct?
Possibly.
There was a time when doctors used leeches to treat
what are some of the
fevers.
symptoms of a fentanyl overdose?
So whereas cocaine is a stimulant, fentanyl is a depressant. So it's more like alcohol, where everything slows down. You know, the breathing slows, the heart rate slows, and they tend to get very sleepy and then go to sleep and don't wake up. They can also have issues with edema in their lungs, where you get kind of the fluid that's getting out into the air spaces, and so they might have like the foamy fluid in their mouth and their airways.
Okay, so you expect to see some foam around the mouth?
Possibly, yeah.
You expect for that person to become sluggish?
Yes.
Depression of the heart rate?
Yes.
Something consistent with the baby, the fetus's heart rate going down to 30? Would that be consistent with a slower heart rate?
Yes.
Someone then going to sleep, as you just stated? And with fentanyl overdose, that happens much quicker than a cocaine overdose. Would you agree?
No.
No? Well, could it happen quickly?
Could.
So if someone is snapping pictures and taking selfies, and within a minute they have slipped into a medical episode that is described as becoming sluggish, foaming at the mouth, labored breathing, lower heart rate, would those be things that could possibly be consistent with a fentanyl overdose?
It's possible.
And to be clear, as it relates to Ms. Benning's OBGYN history, there was no testing done by her OBGYN to determine whether or not she had the presence of drugs in her system, correct?
I don't recall seeing that. Yeah.
So we don't know.
I don't think there was drug testing.
If you were to learn that Ms. Benning met with her drug seller or person she received drugs from on that day, February 25th of 23, would that weigh into your consideration?
I mean, it's a piece of information that's good to know, but it still doesn't change what's in the blood.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Carney, Ms. Hollins just asked you a lot of hypothetical questions, beginning with fingernail clippings and whether or not you sent those off for drug testing. Was there any evidence that Ms. Benning ingested cocaine by snorting it?
No.
Was there evidence to the contrary that she ingested it by swallowing it in liquid form?
It's definitely consistent with the ingestion.
And she was specifically asking you about other drugs that Ms. Benning might have used. Did any of the testing reveal anything when Ms. Benning first went to the hospital other than cocaine?
No.
There's no alcohol, there's no marijuana, there's no nothing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she asked you a lot of questions about cocoethylene.
Yes.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that Ms. Benning was drinking alcohol and snorting cocaine?
No.
And is there very specific evidence to the contrary?
It appears so, yes, from the investigation of the scene.
If she had been drinking alcohol, would that have shown up in testing?
Yes.
And did it?
No.
And if she had been using any other drugs, would that have shown up in testing?
Yes.
She asked a lot of questions about fentanyl and a fentanyl crisis
an opioid crisis. Dr. Carney, is there any evidence whatsoever that fentanyl was ingested by Ms. Benning when the dose of cocaine was ingested?
No.
And specifically to that dose of cocaine, can you say exactly how much it was?
Like
what amount?
Size-wise?
Yes.
No.
In the other case where the amount was 10,000 nanograms per milliliter, the circumstances of that person was in police custody. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Were you provided like the facts of that case as part of the autopsy?
Yes.
And was it a large amount of cocaine?
It would have had to have been something he had with him that he could swallow quickly.
And so something that you could have a small rock, pop it in your mouth, swallow it, and that would do it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have other questions?
I do.
Okay, just a few?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Carney, what drugs did you test for?
I tested for cocaine and products, as well as designer opioids.
What is included in designer opioids?
It's on the 3rd page of the report, and it's a lot of these designer fentanyls, and it includes 4A and PP.
Now, you just stated that there's no evidence whatsoever of the presence of cocaethylene in Ms. Benning. Is that what you testified to?
I have no positive findings for cocaethylene and no communication to say otherwise.
Are you familiar with the lab of the Center for Forensic Science, Research and Education?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a lab here in Nashville?
Actually, the CSFRE is a branch of NMS labs.
Okay.
They're associated with NMS.
Is it a lab that is utilized by Vanderbilt?
If they send their samples to NMS labs, yes.
And are you aware that there was a sample of Ms. Benning's blood that was sent to CSFRE?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to look at the results of those testings?
Let's see. I have some testing here. I think it was urine, actually, that I was aware was sent.
Yes,
yeah, urine was sent to the research lab. Yes.
And in fact, isn't it true, Dr. Carney, that her urine tested positive for cocaethylene at the CFSRE?
I was not aware of any cocaethylene, no.
If I may, Your Honor, if I can show the witness. Can you please take a look at those results?
Okay. Okay.
Do you see there where Ms. Benning tested positive for cocaethylene?
I do see a positive for cocaethylene here.
So the statement, conclusion, or testimony that there is nothing, nowhere else to suggest Ms. Benning tested positive for cocaethylene isn't true, is it?
There's a positive here in the urine.
And so if it's positive for her urine, that means at some point Ms. Benning had to consume alcohol and cocaine at the very same time.
It's a product of cocaine and ethanol. So yes, there's some sort of ethanol there.
No other way around that, is it?
No.
I'll pass the witness.
Any other questions?
Dr. Carney, there were only 2 samples that were obtained from Ms. Benning, a urine sample and a blood sample, prior to her receiving treatment at the UMC. Is that correct?
I believe that is, well, let's see. I know the blood sample is prior to. The urine here, if this is the first urine sample, it's positive for drugs that she was given as part of her treatment.
It is not the first urine sample.
Okay.
That is the purpose of my question.
Okay.
If this urine sample is after she received medical treatment.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm referring to the report that Ms. Hollins just
Okay, from the other lab.
Right.
Okay, what's your question?
Ms. Hollins was asking you questions like that was a urine sample that was taken in the beginning. If that urine sample is from after Ms. Benning received treatment,
Right.
There's a positive for cocaethylene, but there's also a positive for fentanyl type products, correct?
Correct.
And that is consistent. I guess, can you describe it? Are all of those substances consistent with her receiving medical treatment at Vanderbilt Hospital?
Yes, so there's the cocaine and the ones that are associated with cocaine, and then the one positive cocaethylene, and then everything else looks like it was from his or her treatment.
And are you familiar with CFSRE labs?
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
And do they do kind of specialty testing?
Yes.
And their levels are lower than other labs, correct?
I would not be surprised, considering there's not even a number on here. It's just a positive.
And I guess the toxicologist that performed this test might have more information about that level and why that finding was there.
Yes.
You reviewed multiple results of lab work related to Ms. Benning. Was cocaethylene in anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. You're not telling this jury that Vanderbilt gave her alcohol and cocaine, are you?
No.
Okay. So regardless of when the urine was taken, she had it in her system, didn't she?
There's a positive there. I don't know what level, but...
And if the original urine that was taken from Ms. Benning was notated at 2259 or 225, and her first administration of fentanyl was not until after midnight that night, that means that that urine testing was prior to her getting fentanyl. Would you agree?
So, would she have a seizure disorder? Because she has an anti-seizure drug in here that was given at the hospital.
I'm not talking about seizures.
Then I don't think that we can say that this is prior to treatment. This is after treatment. She very clearly has other drugs in here that were from treatment.
I don't think you're hearing my question. I'm not speaking to
Okay, what is your question?
My question is, if her urine was taken at 10:59 p.m. from Vanderbilt, and fentanyl was not administered until after midnight, if that urine tested positive for fentanyl, that would
Objection,
be...
Your Honor. Counsel is misstating the evidence. That report is
I'm
not
not.
related to that sample.
She can just answer the question. The evidence is going to come out as
Did you
it
have
is.
multiple urine samples?
So, there are urine samples, and they're clearly after she's received treatment. And I believe this has been all worked out as far as the timing. So the fentanyl from this is from her treatment.
And you're right, it has been worked out.
Right.
Because
So this is
originally-
not illicit fentanyl. This is treatment fentanyl.
Originally, up until as late as a few...
Objection, Your
What
Honor.
is your question?
Counsel is misstating the evidence.
I can't answer.
What is your question?
For the first year and a half to 2
You got to
years,
start out with that. What is your question?
the original urine wasn't 9, it was taken at 22:59. Is that correct?
That's what it states.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. And fentanyl wasn't given until after midnight, isn't that right?
I don't know that that's accurate.
Did you take a look at the records?
I did, but there's been a lot of examination of those records.
And so have they changed?
I can clearly see that she's been given treatment, and fentanyl was part of her treatment. It was ordered almost very early on when she was there. So my understanding from everything that I've reviewed is the fentanyl that's there is from treatment and was not illicit, and I did not include it as a cause of death.
I know that, but my question was, the first round of fentanyl wasn't given until after midnight. Isn't that true?
I don't know that that's accurate, no. And actually, if it was given after midnight, then this urine was taken after that. It was taken after she was given fentanyl.
But if the original urine that was notated at 10:59 p.m., that would be before, wouldn't it?
It would, but I don't think that that's accurate.
Any other questions?
Wow.
Any other questions? Text your name, step down and just leave those items.
It sounds like there's some issues with the documentation or the timing on the record. They had to go back and piece together, and they've probably identified that there's a flaw somewhere in that record. But I'm not sure the defense got the mileage out of that they wanted.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the jury is going to break for lunch till 1:40.
Hour for lunch.
Step down the podium.
So we're hearing a rumor that the judge is going to hold court tomorrow. That we do not get Saturday off. That we'll be working on Saturday. We'll be here for it, if that's the case. And hope you didn't have anything pressing planned. And if you did, maybe you can bring earbuds.
The next witness be?
I think we need to call Detective Reese based off of this morning, Your Honor, but we will only be calling him for purposes of establishing the chain of custody of the urine sample that he collected at Peterbilt.
Okay. Is Dr. O'Leary going to testify?
I don't think that's going to be necessary. We're going to have other toxicologists, but I do have her available if I want to call her.
Is Dr. Protrulski going to testify?
Yes.
Okay. So
And Your Honor, while we're talking about it, we will call Dr. O'Leary if they do not.
defense. That's the first we've heard that they're definitely putting on a case.
Hey, Judge.
Go to the lunch recess.
Lunch recess. Y'all go out for lunch. Go out for lunch. It's time. Get yourself some food, some victuals. And it's spicy today. It's spicy. We have a portal set up that will bring you all the way over to our afternoon live stream in just a minute. So if you didn't get enough of the courtroom action this morning, there's more where that came from. Happy early birthday, Queen of the Curtain Twitchers. Who is that? Who's the Queen of the Curtain Twitchers? I'm the honorary vice president of Cables and Dongles, but Curtain Twitchers, that's different. Oh, let's see. Kathy? Is this true? It is. Would you look at that? Look, we've got time right now. I've got the birthday song pulled up. Everyone, let's do a rare second singing of the birthday song. We're going to start right away with singing, so warm up with me if you will. La 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 la. That was out of tune. La 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 la. There we go. Yeah, that's going to work. Here we go. Sing happy birthday to Kathy. Gossip rumor and innuendo. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kathy. Happy birthday to you. There you go, Kathy. Tomorrow, help yourself to free pancakes at all the regular establishments: Denny's, IHOP Village Inn, Waffle House, McDonald's, Tammy Douglas House, Andy's Grill, Bob Evans, and Cracker Barrel. And enjoy it. Enjoy your birthday. There you go. It's rare that we do a second birthday song. To everyone who's celebrating, happy birthday. Happy birthday. All right, we now are going to go to lunch and come back because defense is bringing the heat today. These are must-win battles for them. I think when it comes to the urine samples and the blood samples, they have to win some of these to secure a not guilty. They don't have to win them for him to be found not guilty. but to secure the not guilty. This evidence, the state can't get a guilty without him. They need this evidence. They're losing so far. They're losing. And the jury, I think, sees that. So, all right. I think that's it. We're going to be working tomorrow, so come back. Maybe we'll sing to Kathy tomorrow, too. And a couple others. So tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again shortly in about 57 minutes by my math. A little less than that, 50 minutes. We love our curtain twitcher. Yes. We'll be back here with a little bit more of this trial. Crazy stuff in the Tyler Robinson trial if you missed it. Oh my goodness. The judge made a ruling, and he basically told the defense that he's going to listen on an item-by-item basis to arguments to exclude evidence from public view during the preliminary hearing. I don't know if the judge just likes wearing more hats and taking on more jobs, but every single item that's going to be presented, the defense will have the opportunity to argue why it should not be presented to the public. That's us. So anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. You guys have a good lunch. We'll see you. Bye-bye. Portal incoming. I think I set it up.